Chapter 927. Once a dark horse appears, he'll attack from behind. Old bastard, here's a reward for you. Lin Chun laughed heartily as he waved his red spear, thrusting madly again. Bang! 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 The heavenly tribulation struck the air one after another. Lin Chun tore through the void and followed closely behind the Dark Pavilion Patriarch, beating him up. Hiss! The group of veteran battle emperors sucked in cold breaths. What was going on? A combat emperor was chasing after the Dark Pavilion Patriarch? What was wrong with this world? What's going on? This kid is only a combat emperor, but he can travel through the void and keep up with my speed? The Dark Pavilion Patriarch was shocked and angry. His body flashed back and forth. Lin Chun followed closely behind, attacking crazily with his red spear. Ha ha! Come on. Why don't you dare to fight back? Aren't you a F** King Saint? What legend of the assassin world? Uft. Trash. Come and kill me if you dare. F***CK. Are all of you Dark Pavilion cowards? You don't even dare to attack me, a combat emperor? Come and hit me, I beg you. F***CK. Your eyes are as wide as eggs. Who are you trying to scare? Why don't you try attacking me? The saints of the Dark Pavilion gritted their teeth. This was a blatant humiliation. This kid was relying on his heavenly tribulation and the fact that none of the saints dared to interfere with his heavenly tribulation. But that's not right. Logically speaking, this shouldn't be possible. How did Lin Chun travel through the void? A combat emperor like him shouldn't be able to tear through the sacred boundary. This isn't the spatial crystal wall of the mortal realm. The saints who were neutral were stunned. No, look at the black cloud under his feet. The Thundersword Saint's eyes were sharp, and he immediately found a problem. Hiss! It's the Dark Shadow tribe. That's still not right. Any living being that affects Lin Chun will cause the heavenly tribulation strength to increase exponentially. How did he get the Dark Shadow to help him and not affect the heavenly tribulation at the same time? The saints were shocked. They were completely unable to see through Lin Chun's trump card. Little did they know that Lin Chun's shadow was an ultimate shadow, which Buddha Sage had created through numerous experiments. It was capable of evading detection from the aura of tribulation. Little Dark Shadow was born as an innate dark shadow. If it hit its aura, even the heavenly tribulation would not be able to sense it. With a boom, Lin Chun's sneak attack succeeded. His spear struck the back of a saint who had allied with the hidden pavilion. The other party wasn't harmed in the slightest. His sacred body was as vast as the heavens and earth, possessing boundless good fortune. It wasn't something Lin Chun could harm. However, this spear strike filled his opponent with a sense of humiliation and shame. For a saint to be hit by the battle emperor, it could only be described with the word humiliation. However, he could only clench his teeth and retreat. If he attacked Lin Chun, the heavenly tribulation would immediately change its target to him. Bang! 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 Tribulation clouds surged. This time, it was the metal, wood, and water tribulation clouds that attacked. Water filled the horizon, gung metal crossed the heavens, and a sea of wood descended. Whoosh! Little Dark Shadow carried Lin Chun, creating sparks and lightning along the way. It perfectly avoided countless heavenly tribulation attacks. On the contrary, it appeared behind a saint like a ghost. The other party didn't notice it at all. Brother, it's raining in the chrysanthemum region. Let me help you. Lin Chun smiled evilly and stabbed the saint's chrysanthemum region with his spear. Bang! The spear shot out like a dragon, and the spear flashed. It exploded. Saint Mo Ching's chrysanthemum exploded. Why does he like to attack people from behind so much? That saint was sent flying by Lin Chun's spear. He was so angry that his face turned red. Lin Chun immediately put his face forward and said with a face full of anticipation, "Quick, hit me. Hit me with all your might. Saint Mo Ching." F***CKU, bang. The 9-color tribulation clouds let out a deafening explosion again. The hidden pavilion saint shouted, "Old Mo Ching, get out of the way. Don't become the target of the heavenly tribulation. Saint Mo Ching, who was about to go berserk, was so frightened that he immediately regained his senses and hurriedly escaped into the void. Whoosh! Then, he went in the direction of the two saints from the hidden pavilion. The two of them were so frightened that they hurriedly retreated. Ha ha, so high. Little guy, good job. I'll reward you. Lin Shen laughed and rewarded Little Dark Shadow with 10 stage 7 pills. Little Dark Shadow was happy, and its speed increased by 30% while carrying Lin Shen. Old Ancestor Ji's eyes trembled. Lin Shen was attacking them. Not good. This brat is coming toward us. The saints who were fighting with the Ice Heart Palace's saints immediately scattered. Being provoked by the heavenly tribulation was not as simple as fighting with a saint. As soon as he said that, a ghostly figure appeared behind Old Ancestor Ji. Old bastard of the Ji family. I'll give you a big gift. Lin Shen sneered. As he smashed his spear down with one hand, he took out 3 throwing knives and used the triple ultimate shadows with all his might. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Old Ancestor Ji raised his hand to block Lin Shen's spear. He did not put the ultimate shadow, throwing knives in his eyes at all. His figure was about to explosively retreat as Saint Power enveloped his entire body. The next moment, rip, Saint blood splattered, and a few attribute light balls rolled down. What? Everyone was stunned. Even Lin Chun was stunned. When everyone saw Saint blood spurting out from Old Ancestor Ji's anus, they could not help but subconsciously cover their anus. Someone shouted in fright. Ji family's Old Ancestor's anus is cracked. F***CK. This Lin Chun is too abnormal. Everyone below the level of a sage was stunned. Those above the Saint Realm were dumbfounded. Lin Chun had actually injured a Saint Realm expert? Although he could not make a move because of the heavenly tribulation, for a Saint Realm expert to defend against Lin Chen's attack was as easy as blowing off dust. It was like a baby using a sharp wooden knife to try to cut an adult wearing a supreme-grade weapon. Both sides were not on the same level. Not to mention using Saint Origin to block, even if he did not. With the strength of his Saint body, it was not a problem at all to block the Battle Emperor's attack. Activated RIP, target's defense has been torn apart. Lin Chun was overjoyed. With my full strength, as long as I can activate RIP, I can injure a saint. With a flash, he took away Old Ancestor Ji's attribute light balls. Received 9 high-level rune energy, 7 high-level fire energy, 12 mid-level talent points, 50,000 strengthening points. F***CK. Lin Chun was stunned. Even if it was just a superficial wound, the quality of the attributes dropped by a Saint Realm expert was ridiculously high. He only had 290 mid-level talent points, but the attribute light balls dropped by a Saint Realm expert were worth 12 points. What did you do? Old Ancestor Ji was shocked and angry. His defense had been torn apart by an extremely domineering and strange force just now. Part of the flying knife's power had even penetrated his body. After the real fight, Old Ancestor Ji realized that this young man had endless means. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Lin Chun dodged more than 10 waves of heavenly tribulation's attacks, and a crazy thought emerged in his mind. F***CK. Since I'm going to do it, why don't I go crazy? Since RIP can help me injure a saint, I might as well go all out and use instant light split shadows to fight them to the end. Chapter 928. A Combat Emperor Against a Saint. Previously, he thought that he could not hurt a saint, but it was different now that his RIP talent could be used. As long as he used the RIP talent at close range, he could hurt a saint. This might be Lin Chen's only chance to fight a saint as a combat emperor. Clang! Lin Chun put away his spear. His waist was full of flying daggers, and his lips curled up. Whoosh! Little Dark Shadow followed his intention, and its speed increased to the maximum. Lin Chen's figure rushed behind Old Ancestor Ji, and Old Ancestor Ji used his movement technique to travel through the void again. However, Lin Chun was still chasing after him. Old Ancestor G activated his saint power to defend himself and cursed. Damn it. Why do you always want to come behind me? Cut the crap. I'm going to kill you. Lin Shun pulled out the flying daggers at his waist and activated 2 offensive runes and his orange talent. Instant light split shadows. 3 flying daggers bloomed from Lin Shen's hand and tore through the air. The saber light trembled and instantly split into 15 saber lights that were as curved as the moon. They flashed and attacked Old Ancestor G like snowflakes. It's that divine skill again. The saints focused their eyes. Clang, clang, clang. The 12 daggers were all blocked, and the battle aura dissipated. 3 flying daggers rolled down, and Lin Chun retrieved them with one hand. This time, he did not activate the rip talent. Old Ancestor G retreated to the side safely, and Lin Chun continued to chase after him. Boom! The 9 stages of heavenly tribulation followed closely behind Lin Chun. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth tribulation clouds rushed down and destroyed the heavenly tribulation. Gold tribulation Chi, wood tribulation Chi, water tribulation Chi, fire tribulation Chi, earth tribulation Chi, earth tribulation Chi, Chi 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 tribulation Chi. Little guy, Lin Shin shouted, and little dark shadow's size increased. Its speed increased, and it traveled through the void, avoiding all the heavenly tribulation's power. Lin Shan waved his battle suit and shook out dozens of silver Saint Origin coins for Little Dark Shadow to absorb. Although it was talented, its weakness was that it consumed a lot of energy. Again, Lin Shun waved his hand and retrieved his flying daggers. He cooperated with Little Shadow to avoid many heavenly tribulations and crazily chased after all the saints present. Run, run, damn it. Why does he always aim behind us? The power of the heavenly tribulation is getting stronger and stronger. Don't do anything. Damn, why is it coming for me? All the sages panicked and retreated. While Lin Shun cooperated with Little Shadow to avoid the attacks of the heavenly tribulation, he continuously traveled through the void to ambush the saints. Previously, Sheng Domain didn't put in his eyes because he thought that he was just a kid who borrowed the power of the heavenly tribulation to intimidate others. However, if Old Ancestor G's chrysanthemum cracked, the problem would be different. This meant that he had the means to injure a saint. The 16 Saint Stage experts of the Secret Pavilion had been put in a difficult situation by Lin Shun. They had been chased around like chickens and dogs. Lin Shun continued to travel from the 10,000 Days Square to a distant space. Yueqing City was located 10,000 miles away from the Wansun Plaza. It was founded by a second-grade sect, the Heavenly Blue Mystic Moon Sect. Today, Yueqing City was holding a large-scale auction. Countless caravans and experts had gathered. Bang! There was an explosion in the sky without any warning. Countless experts looked up in fright, their faces pale with fright. The space actually cracked. What's going on? Could it be a Saint Stage expert? Oh my God! The space crystal wall is about to shatter. Some experts were on high alert. While they were holding their breaths, 2 figures suddenly appeared from the shattered space crack. Everyone was stunned, and then they were shocked and overjoyed. It's Saint Mo Qing. I've seen his portrait before. The other one is Flame Saint. The 4 heavenly fire techniques that I cultivate was modified by him. I'm so lucky to be able to see him today. Countless mortals were cheering for the might of the saints. However, before they could be happy for 2 breaths, the sky changed color, and the 2 saints' expressions became extremely ugly. The 9-colored tribulation cloud hung high in the sky like a giant moving star. The 9-colored tribulation cloud was like an apocalyptic tribulation descending upon heaven and earth. The extreme destructive aura caused countless experts to feel fear. Heavenly tribulation? The 2 saints brought heavenly tribulation? That's not right. Why would a saint experience a heavenly tribulation? Hiss. It's a 9-stage heavenly tribulation. I've never seen a war emperor's heavenly tribulation like this. While the experts were sucking in cold breaths, whoosh. A young silver-robed figure with a shiny silver battlesuit on his shoulders appeared behind the flame saint on a black cloud without any warning. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Countless whistling sounds rang out as the young man's hands released more than a dozen blade auras and slashed toward Flame Saint. Splat! Saint blood splattered. Flame Saint's thigh was cut, and he looked furious. The young man's eyes lit up, and he laughed maniacally as he collected the attribute light balls. Ha ha ha, awesome. Beating a saint is so King awesome. I like it. Hearing the young man's maniacal laughter, all the experts in Yueqing City were dumbfounded. They were all doubting their lives. What's going on? A war emperor beating a saint? An King beating a saint? Has the world gone mad, or have we gone mad? The young man followed up with another attack. His fists were swinging rapidly, and his legs were like blades, slashing and sweeping horizontally. He kept shuttling through the void and appearing beside the two saints, suppressing them so much that the latter didn't even dare to fight back. Lin Shun, once the heavenly tribulation is over, I won't be called Flame Saint if I don't tear you into pieces. Flame Saint was in an extremely sorry state. He couldn't attack, nor could he defend. There were only two outcomes for this kid's attacks. He could either easily defend against them, or tear through his defenses. There was no way to guess how he would defend against his next move. Boom! The tribulation cloud shook, and many heavenly tribulations descended in a frenzy. It shocked Yueqing City so much that they set up a defensive array to block the aftershocks of the heavenly tribulation. The two saints took the opportunity to escape. Lin Shun used a shadow to dodge the heavenly tribulation's attacks and chased after the two saints at top speed. Lin Shin's heart was overjoyed. During the conference of the four saints, the gathering of the saints was like a huge rock pressing down on his heart. Now it was all gone. Just do it. The more ferocious he was, the more attribute points he would gain. The tribulation cloud quickly followed Lin Chen's movements and left. Before the powerful fighters in Yueqing City could recover from their shock, a group of figures flashed across the sky. Quick, get ready to cover Lin Shun at any time. Don't let that kid get away. Keep a good distance. Take him down once the heavenly tribulation is over. Two groups of sages appeared in the sky, and the continuous flashes of the Sage Realm formation shocked all the experts in Moonlight Green City. It's the Shadow Demon Saints from the Dark Pavilion. Oh my god, even the Dragon Bone Sword Sage has come out? Why didn't we receive any news? Oh my god, look at that old senior leading the first team. Why does he look like the legendary killer from the Dark Pavilion? The Dark Pavilion's patriarch, Ing Tianma. Gasp, even that old man has come out? Isn't he a legendary figure that only exists in ancient books? What kind of day is it today? The group of battle emperors went crazy. What was going on? More than a dozen saints were chasing after one battle emperor? What kind of goddamn battle emperor was this? Chapter 9:29. White Frost City was located at the border between Xuanyu and Mystic Territory. Today, White Frost City was as peaceful as usual, but a sudden explosion of thunder shocked the entire city. Thunder. It's the lightning tribulation. No, it's the 9 heavenly tribulation. What's going on? Which peerless genius is going through the tribulation? The powerhouses guarding White Frost City were shocked. Bang! When the earth-shattering sound was heard, a silver-robed young man descended from the sky and floated on a black cloud. Immediately after, a dazzling holy light illuminated the surroundings. The attack of the 9 heavenly tribulation clouds gradually weakened and was about to dissipate. High up in the sky, the holy light spun like a wheel, spreading out images of sacred palaces in the sky. The aura was vast and majestic, as if a sacred site had descended. The battle emperors and Yuan venerables below White Frost City looked up at this moment in shock. The shock in their hearts was indescribable. Welcome, sacred arrival. I wonder which sacred realm Almighty has come to White Frost City. White Frost City Lord greets the sacred realm Almighty. Many living beings in White Frost City knelt down and bowed in the direction of the holy light. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sacred palaces in the sky shattered like a bubble. More than a dozen holy lights dissipated, and 16 sages walked out from within. Their auras exuded supreme, sacred aura. Hiss! Countless people sucked in a breath of cold air. 16 sages? Even second-grade sex, known as eternal sex, only had one sage. What was the concept of 16 sages? The sages in the sky shone with holy light and were supreme. Their eyebrows were like lightning, and their sacred eyes flickered with undefeatable lightning. Their feet stepped on raging tornadoes, and they were like the monarch of the wind that ruled the world. They could summon the wind and summon the rain, and they could control the world with a single thought. Or they wielded the sacred pearl, and their eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. Their sacred aura was oppressive, as if they could make billions of people kneel down with a single glance. Each of them was a sage revered by billions of people in the mortal world. They were powerful and had great fame. History seemed to have stopped at this moment. 16 sages had surrounded a young man with only the cultivation of a battle emperor. Lin Shun, the heavenly tribulation is about to dissipate. Even if you have the innate dark shadow, you won't be able to escape. There has never been a combat emperor who dared to make me waste so much energy. I will crush every bone in your body, young man. The 16 saints were either mocking him or staring at him coldly, revealing their killing intent. At the sight of this, many of the young geniuses of White Frost City instinctively fell into despair. 16 sage realm almighty beings had surrounded the battle emperor. What a despairing reality. It was as if 16 dragons had surrounded a small white rabbit. Not to mention a match. It wasn't even qualified to be an appetizer. Boom! The 9-colored tribulation cloud began to dissipate. 10,000 layers of saint might shone brightly as it locked onto Lin Chun. As soon as the heavenly tribulation completely dissipated, the sages would attack immediately. Ha ha! Lin Shun threw his head back and laughed. If you want to eat me, Lin Shun, you'll have to break your teeth first. At this moment, the billions of living beings in White Frost City were shocked by the young combat emperor's courage to show his claws and teeth to the sages. Lin Shun opened his arms wide, and a strong wind blew at his silver robe. The shiny silver Saint Origin coins turned into a silver river and flowed into his body. Finally, Tianma's expression changed. Could it be? Lin Chen laughed maniacally as he shouted, "The tribulation is coming." Chi! Bang! A 9-colored heavenly thunder rumbled in the sky. 10,000 tribulation clouds gathered in an instant. The 16 sages were shocked. The heavenly tribulation is coming again? What's going on? This kid has broken through to the second tribulation combat emperor. He has broken through 2 levels in a row. Are you kidding me? How could he have broken through 2 levels in such a short period of time? Is he cultivating an orange tier heart technique? The sages retreated in shock and confusion. It's his robe. The silver Saint Origin coins in his robe have been filling it. He has been refining silver Saint Origin coins crazily while he is transcending the tribulation. Tianma's voice was hoarse, and there was still confusion in his eyes. Logically speaking, there was no possibility of this happening. No matter how powerful the heart technique was, it would still take a long time for one to refine a large amount of silver Saint Origin coins, let alone a first tribulation combat emperor who had broken through to the second tribulation combat emperor. It was impossible for a combat emperor who had just broken through to the second tribulation combat emperor in such a short period of time. Host has received 15 high-grade essence, 22 high-grade essence, 11 high-grade essence, 31 high-grade essence. Lin Shen's system screen was still changing rapidly. The reason was simple. He had been refining silver Saint Origin coins crazily since the beginning. However, the amount of silver Saint Origin coins was far more than what was on the battle robe. Lin Chen's 5 doppelgangers had been hiding in the peach blossom pouch to activate the ultimate moment at full speed. Due to the explosive increase in his elemental attributes, the power of his mental cultivation method was enhanced by the ultimate moment talent. At the same time, Lin Chen's main body and his 5 clones were absorbing the silver Saint Origin coins at extremely high speed while they were transcending the tribulation. During this period of time, Lin Chen had refined 2 million silver Saint Origin coins rapidly. This amount of silver Saint Origin coins made Lin Chen's high-grade battle chi essence increase by more than 200,000 points. This was twice the original amount of battle chi essence. If it was converted into mid-grade essence, it would be more than 20 trillion Saint Origin coins. As a result, Lin Chen had broken through to the first and second Tribulation Combat Emperors in unprecedented speed. Fortunately, I have broken through. If it wasn't for the fact that my ripping talent could injure Saints and the additional 70,000 high-grade essence that I obtained by picking up the Saint Origin coins, plan number 2 would have almost failed. Damn it! Sometimes it's wrong to have a good foundation. Lin Chen was sweating profusely. 2 million silver Saint Origin coins. Even a pig would have broken through by now, but it was still not enough for him. If it wasn't for the fact that he had injured the Saint Origin coins, Lin Chen wouldn't have been able to summon the second heavenly tribulation. Rumble. This time, the heavenly tribulation clouds were several times more terrifying than the previous ones. A 9-colored thundercloud appeared in the sky. The flashing lightning within the thundercloud could even kill a 4th Tribulation Combat Emperor. Little guy, can you still withstand it? Lin Chen shouted in a deep voice and transmitted his voice to Little Dark Shadow. He couldn't completely avoid the heavenly tribulation with his movement skill, so he had to rely on Little Dark Shadow. Swoosh! Little Dark Shadow didn't answer him directly. Instead, it turned into a cloud of dark mist and shrouded Lin Chen. Then, it transformed into a pair of dark wings that were more than 6 meters long. Boom! 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 The 9-colored lightning struck like an electric python. Lin Chen didn't have time to study the pair of dark wings. He flapped his dark wings and twisted the space around him. Rumble! The lightning exploded, hitting nothing but air. The Saint's eyes trembled. This kid's speed of traveling through the void had become even faster. This time, I won't run away. I'll fight you to the end. Lin Chen suddenly rushed toward the 16 Saints. Chapter 9:30. 7 Ultimate Force. Life and Death Ultimate Force. The void rotated, and the shadow of a leg came slashing. The attack with 7 dragons wrapped around it went straight for the Dark Pavilion's patriarch, Ying Tianma. Instant light split shadow. Lin Chen put all his strength into this attack. When it hit Ying Tianma sneered and flicked his sleeve. With a whoosh, he dissolved Lin Chen's attack that was comparable to an orange-grade combat technique. No, to be precise, it should be 5 moves. Lin Chen used all his strength to activate his orange-grade talent, Instant Light Split Shadow. However, the tier talent was not triggered. Without the tier talent, Lin Chen could not break the Saint's defense. Whoosh! The 9-colored lightning bolts blasted out again. Lin Chen and Ying Tianma flashed away, dodging the attack of the heavenly tribulation. Whoosh! Dark wings flapped continuously, and Lin Chen dodged behind Ying Tianma again. At close range, he pulled out Azure Bright Moon and slashed horizontally. Instant Light Split Shadow, Mirror Moon Divine Order. 5 peerless slashes reflected the endless moonlight, and they were still blocked by Ying Tianma with one hand. Don't treat me like those useless trash. Ying Tianma sneered. Suddenly, a bloody wound appeared on his arm, and an attribute light ball dropped. Host triggered talent, tier, received 8 points of advanced dark energy. Lin Chen was delighted and laughed. A famous legend in the assassin world can be hurt by a mere war emperor like me? Looks like you're no different from those useless trash you call yourself. Tianma's expression was gloomy. If not for the heavenly tribulation, I would have killed you thousands of times. But it does. Are you angry? Are you angry? Come hit me, come on. Lin Chun smirked, and Tianma was so angry that his veins were popping. Whoosh! Boom! The nine-colored lightning came again. What puzzled all the sages was why Lin Chun did not run away this time. Instead, he continued to pursue and fight the various sages. Damn it, I can't fight back, and I can't run too far away. Moreover, I have to keep an eye on this brat. So, I can only passively take a beating. Since when had they, as dignified saint stage experts, suffered such humiliation? However, when they thought about the heritage of the ancient sages, they could only bear with it. The experts of White Frost City looked like they were doubting their lives. It was too strange. A war emperor chasing after the saints and beating them up? The deafening roar of thunder shook the entire area. But Lin Chun was as agile as a ghost, dodging here and there. Not a single heavenly tribulation struck him. Iceheart Palace's palace master and the others also arrived near the heavenly tribulation, but they didn't dare to enter rashly. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. Looks like the plan was a success. The only variable is the mark that the Dark Pavilion's old ancestor left on me. Time returned to a certain day, 3 days ago, in a secret room. You're Lin Chen? The three saints looked at the thin man in front of them in surprise. These three saints were in charge of the single combat competition. They were the ones who bought the Long Qingguo with Lin Chun at the beginning. Yes and no. However, I can represent Lin Chun to make a deal with you. The reward is 30 Long Qingguo. The man smiled. The three saints frowned. The white-browed old man said indifferently, "What deal do you want? After the battle breaks out, you have to send me to Dark Island as quickly as possible." The three saints were shocked. Dark Island was located at the border between Xuanyu and the Mystic Realm. There were countless fierce, vicious beasts on the island. The most terrifying thing was that some powerful existence seemed to have died on the island, causing the spatial laws to become chaotic and collapse. The spatial crystal walls were abnormally strong. Even if an ordinary saint entered Dark Island, they wouldn't be able to travel through the void. Moreover, there were rumors that there were saint beasts living on the island. 30 Long Qingguo? If it's just escorting you there, it won't be a problem. However, it'll take half a day at the fastest. Rumble. Under Lin Chen's relentless attacks, he successfully activated Tier on Flame Sage and Old Ancestor G, obtaining a large number of high-quality attribute light balls. However, the tribulation clouds started to dissipate. The 9-colored thunder clouds gradually thinned and became fewer and fewer. Damn it, I'm going to skin him alive later. Damn it, he can't possibly summon a third heavenly tribulation. The saints rubbed their palms and stared at Lin Chun with murderous intent. Finally, after 12 hours of humiliation, they could finally deal with this little bastard. Without the heavenly tribulation to worry about, any saint would be able to take him down in one move. At this moment, Lin Chun landed on the tallest building in White Frost City. He temporarily hid Little Shadow back in the peach blossom pouch. In front of everyone, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Smack! I'm not targeting anyone. I just want to say that the 16 saints here are too ugly. The Black Horse Club is so cool. His laughter spread in all directions, and before anyone could react, the tribulation clouds of the 9-colored lightning tribulation finally dissipated. Meanwhile, a spatial light broke open above Lin Chen's head and instantly enveloped him. Post-activated super-dimensional teleportation. Consumed 29 intermediate talent points. Teleported to Space 5. Whoosh! The spatial light pillar flashed, and Lin Chun disappeared. White Frost City was eerily silent. Only the echo of Lin Chen's "so cool" could be heard. This? The saint's eyeballs almost fell to the ground. What was going on? How could this brat jump out of their perception range when traveling through the void? Ying Tianmo's pupils trembled. He was the only one who could lock onto Lin Chen's position. In that instant, Lin Shun had jumped to the other side of the Eternal Sun Square and crossed an extremely long distance in an instant. That direction is, oh no, he's going to enter the Island of Darkness. Ying Tianmo, who was old and experienced, instantly realized Lin Chen's purpose and immediately waved his hand. Everyone, follow me. This kid can't escape. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The palace master of Ice Heart Palace and the other saints immediately blocked his path. Flame Sage, Old Ancestor G, and the other saints were directly blocked. Let's go first. Don't get entangled by these guys. Once that kid enters the Island of Darkness, he'll be out of our control. Ying Tianmo had no time to care about the saints of Ice Heart Palace. He directly brought the 8 saints who could still move and tore through space together. Kid, this is all we can do. The rest is up to you. Looking in the direction where Ying Tianmo and the others left, the palace master of Ice Heart Palace sighed in her heart. Then she focused on dealing with the opponent in front of her. White Frost City was greeted by a deathly silence. Who was this young combat emperor? He had fooled more than a dozen saints, and even managed to escape in the end. He just said that the Black Horse Club. In a sea region, there was heavy fog. Whoosh! Lin Shun instantly appeared beside the Dragon Emperor, scaring the 3 saints so much that they were on guard. Then they cried out in shock. Lin Shun, it's you? Why are you here? Chapter 9:31. Lin Shun, how did you get here? The 3 holy sages' expressions suddenly froze. They could clearly sense a powerful killing intent locking onto Lin Shun. Even at their level, they felt a chill run down their spines. It was the patriarch of the Dark Pavilion, Ying Tianmo. There's no time to explain. This is your reward. Seniors, hurry up and leave. You're all neutral. If you're discovered to have helped me escape, you'll also be targeted by the Dark Pavilion. Lin Shun placed the promised 30 long Qingguo into his storage ring before tossing it to the 3 holy sages. They looked at each other before saying earnestly, "Take care, little guy." The 3 holy sages came from different forces. If they helped Lin Shun on the surface, the forces behind them would be targeted by the Dark Pavilion. Lin Shun had the disguised Dragon Emperor negotiate with the 3 holy sages from the very beginning. He had them take the Dragon Emperor away after the battle began. Then he would stall the holy sages. His clone would lure them away. The heavenly tribulation would take advantage of the situation, and the Dragon Emperor would turn the dragon into a phoenix. Lin Shun had prepared 3 ways to deal with the pursuit of the holy sages, but there were still many accidents. Firstly, he didn't think that Ying Tianmo would see through his clone. As a result, the 3 holy sages didn't have enough time to take his Dragon Emperor to the Dark Island according to the original plan. Lin Shun bade farewell to the 3 holy sages and kept the ultimate moment active the entire time. He had only used the superdimensional teleportation once, but it had already consumed close to 1/10 of his talent points. There's not much distance left to the Dark Island. I'll just have to rush over with all my might. Little Shadow has used up all of its energy in order to avoid the heavenly tribulation and coordinate with my attacks. I can't use it anymore. Lin Shun glanced at the peach blossom plant pouch. At this moment, there were still over 3 million silver Saint Origin coins left. Little Shadow was quickly swallowing pills and absorbing silver Saint Origin coins to recover from its injuries. Its exhaustion was so severe that it almost affected its future potential. Lin Shun activated the True Flame Purple Phoenix wings, carelessly stuffed a handful of medicinal pills into his mouth, and frantically used infinite silent steps to rush towards the deepest part of the sea region at his fastest speed. Lin Shun had become a 9th stage battle empress, and the Purple Phoenix wings actually had very little effect on his movement technique. However, no matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Lin Shun gave it his all to move. The Eye of 9 Tribulations could vaguely sense that Ying Tianmo's monstrous, murderous aura was approaching him. There's still time. My purple golden eyes and mind power have already detected the exact location of the Dark Island. It's not far away. Lin Chun madly used infinite silent steps and rushed over, getting closer and closer to Dark Island. When there were only 2,000 miles left, a strange phenomenon occurred. Lin Chun, in the end, this old man still caught up to you. Die. Ing Tianma stepped on a snow-white wheel of light, tearing through space and appearing. Behind him were 8 saints. A spatial saint artifact? Lin Chen's pupils trembled. Ing Tianma actually possessed the rarest spatial treasure. Rumble. Ing Tianma stretched out his hand, and his 5 fingers shattered the mountains and sunk into oblivion. They glowed with holy light and condensed into a vast and ferocious dark gas, poisonous python that swallowed the sky. The poisonous python emitted a brilliant holy aura and shot directly at Lin Chen's spatial location. Everywhere it passed, it stirred up tens of thousands of angry waves on the sea. 8 saints flashed in an instant and attacked Lin Chen. Some opened spatial enchantments, while others attacked him furiously. They would not give Lin Chen any more chances. Lin Chen did not hesitate to use his sure kill skills in succession. Host has activated blue rank intermediate and advanced sure kill skills. Hell's Green Burial, Hell's Ice Fiend, Sky-Splitting Sandstorm, Demon Ruthless Wind, Mystic Extreme Wind. Lin Chen used 5 sure kill skills in one breath. He had no choice. With Ing Tianma, the second heaven saint, holding the line, 1 or 2 sure kill skills would not be able to stop the 8 saints led by him. Streaks of green light flowed with a hellish murderous aura. They were as vast as pillars and suddenly fell from the top of the saints' heads. The icy murderous aura spiraled like a dragon, setting up tens of thousands of ice walls and freezing the dark gas poisonous python. The giant wind blade whistled past, and a terrifying sandstorm with a force that could tear space apart swept up waves. Streaks of murderous aura and chilly wind were roaring like a bone-chilling wind. Many sure kill skills appeared in the sky and blocked all the saints. D***. What kind of trick is this? Be careful, these attacks can't be avoided. It's very strange. Focus on defense. Even someone as strong as Ing Tianma was caught off guard by Lin Chen's sudden combination of sure kill skills. He repeatedly activated his defensive combat skills to block them head-on. If it were ordinary attacks, would not be able to stop 9 saints at the same time. However, Lin Chen's sure kill skills had the characteristic of 100% accuracy, forcing the saints to use their saint power to block them. Borrowing the power of the sure kill skills, the spatial boundary that sealed the sea was instantly shattered. Lin Chen fled at top speed. Now that he did not have the help of the heavenly tribulation, a saint could easily kill him. Rashly approaching him would be courting death. Now, the most important thing was to rush into Dark Island. Only by entering would he be able to escape the control of the saints. Inside Dark Island, the saints could not travel through the void or seal the space. It would be great if I could meet the conditions to use the God Slayer innate skill. However, under the premise that I was surrounded by 16 saints, I did not have the time to make enemies. Lin Chun gritted his teeth unwillingly. Lin Chun had once provoked a large number of war emperors and Yuan venerates when he was at the Yuan venerate realm. In the end, he had used the God Slayer innate skill to turn the tables. However, the current situation was different from before. 16 saints could suppress him at once. If not for the heavenly tribulation, he would not have had the chance to act at all. The strength of the God Slayer innate skill depended on the strength and number of enemies the host encountered. Previously, Lin Chun had fought against a false god and obtained the cultivation of the Saint realm at the cost of turning the entire 9 states upside down. Only the enhanced version of the God Slayer innate skill had reached such heights. If he rashly attacked this time and did not have enough enemies, he could not guarantee that he would have the power to enter the Saint realm. Without the cultivation of the Saint realm, facing 16 saints, even a 5th Tribulation War Emperor, would be a dead end. Lin Chen stuffed a large amount of long Qingguo into his mouth. His cheeks were swollen like a hamster's. If anything happened, he would immediately chew the long kingwo to heal his injuries. Boom! An aggressive Saint Realm expert charged over. It was Saint Incineration from a third-grade sect. His signature defensive combat skill blocked all the killing moves and caught up with Lin Chun. Little bastard, accept your fate. Saint Incineration laughed sinisterly and attacked. Before he could finish speaking, a green sacred flame condensed in his hand, and a grayish-white talisman appeared out of thin air. Ghost suppressing Saint's Sealing. Activating the level 6 sluggish rune, consuming 90 points of high-grade rune energy. Saint Incineration's figure suddenly stopped. This time, even though his sacred power was on guard, he was still slightly delayed by Lin Chen's sluggish rune and stagnated in the void. Rip! One of Lin Chen's phantom doppelgangers tore off the Thousand Illusion mask and rushed out of the peach blossom pouch. Disregarding life and death, the life and death ultimate force swept across Saint Incineration's neck and sent him flying with a kick. The sneak attack was successful. The other party was not injured at all and was kicked into the sea. Lin Chen's hair stood on end and a chill ran down his spine. A bone-like palm reached out from the void in front of Lin Chen's face and grabbed at Lin Chen. It was the patriarch of the Dark Pavilion, Ing Tianma. Chapter 932. Ing Tianmo was the second to break free from the sure kill skill. He stopped Lin Chen in the blink of an eye. His palm pierced through the void and reached for Lin Chen's face. Level 6 slow rune activated. 280 points of high-grade rune energy consumed. Lin Chen took a step back and waved his hand. In an instant, a quarter of the high-grade rune energy was consumed. He cast an unprecedentedly powerful slow rune. The grayish-white rune appeared like a ghost and exploded in front of Ing Tianmo. The space around Lin Chen froze, and the withered palm paused for a moment. Ing Tianma let out a cry of surprise. The legend of the assassin world couldn't help but be shocked. A mere combat emperor could freeze the space around him? Whoosh! Lin Chen took a step back with a silent step. At the same time, Lin Chen gathered the origin of 9 tribulations in his palm. A 9-colored star shot out from his palm. When the 9-colored star was thrown out, it trembled slightly and split into 5. Instant light split shadows was activated. Facing Ing Tianmo, Lin Chen didn't hold back. He used the 9 tribulation star as soon as they met. He used all his runes and talents. This was because Ing Tianmo was a second Heaven Saint Realm expert. He was second only to the criminals from the Holy Prison when Lin Chen used his 2 orange talents. Lin Chen's 9 tribulation star, which was a second tribulation combat emperor, could unleash a power that was 5 to 6 times stronger than what he had unleashed during the team competition. The 5-9 tribulations star were like clay oxen entering the sea. The moment it came into contact with a withered palm, it disintegrated into nothingness. The 2 sides weren't even on the same level. However, Lin Chen's sure kill skill wasn't the 9 tribulation star. It was a sure kill skill. Host activated intermediate and advanced blue rank sure kill skills. 8 Desolation Flame twice. Green Mountain Destruction twice. 1,000 Suns Incineration once. Deficiency Thunderstorm once. Boom! The weather changed. Just as Heavenly Demon was about to break free from the level 6 delaying rune, thousands of powerful attacks locked onto the 9 saints present. Damn it! Why is there no end to it? How did this kid obtain this ghostly energy? The sages who had just defended against the first wave of sure kill attacks could not help but curse. The power of a combined sure kill technique was no small matter. If it was just one type, they could forcefully resist and move through the void to forcefully grab Lin Chen. However, Lin Chen didn't hold back at all. He used 6 or 7 sure kill moves in one go. Under the coordinated bombardment, they were forced to use all their strength to resist. They had no time to worry about Lin Chen. Whoosh! Lin Chen gritted his teeth and charged towards the island of darkness, which was only 1,000 miles away. The island was shrouded in dense fog, and as far as the eye could see, it was the territory of the island. It was vast, and its surface area was extremely huge. Lin Shun, since you insist on seeking death, this old man will fulfill your wish. Even if I have to risk getting injured, I will kill you. Ing Tianma was furious. Lin Shun gritted his teeth and puffed up his cheeks. Damn it, is this old bastard going to risk his life with me? Just as the other party was about to forcefully resist the power of the sure kill technique, a black cloud emerged from Lin Shen's waist and condensed into a pair of dark wings. With a whoosh, Lin Shen was pulled into the void. They traveled through the void at extreme speed. Little guy, Lin Shun was delighted, but his expression immediately became serious. Little Shadow was completely draining himself to bring Lin Shun away. Lin Shun was the only human it could rely on. Brat, you can't escape. Ing Tianmo roared. Whoosh! Finally, Little Shadow's desperate action pulled Lin Shun into the foggy island of darkness. They fell into the foggy clouds of the island of darkness and disappeared. Woo woo woo. After falling into a dark forest on the island, Little Shadow released itself from Lin Shen's possession and let out a painful groan. Little guy, that's enough. Go back quickly. I will take care of the rest. Lin Shen was touched and quickly put it back into the peach blossom plant pouch. He stepped into the air and looked around. Every aspect of the island of darkness was the same as the outside world. The only difference was that the space here had a faint sense of oppression and the space crystal walls were abnormally firm. Lin Shun sensed that there were many seventh-order peak, ferocious beasts wandering around the island. Their auras were abnormally brutal. Some of the ferocious beasts were approaching him. The auras of individual ferocious beasts were not inferior to third or fourth calamity battle emperors. Roar! Two giant, demonic, poisonous rhinoceroses, dozens of feet tall, emerged from the forest on the island. Green veins flowed through the dark green rhinoceros horns on their heads. Their bloodthirsty and ruthless eyes locked onto Lin Shun. Bang! 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 When the two behemoths saw Lin Shun, a human stranger, they rushed toward him without saying a word. Wherever they passed, many towering trees collapsed. Swoosh! Lin Shun used the silent step and slashed out a vanishing shadow flying knife. He kicked the giant rhinoceroses in the air. The seven forces combined into one exploded and kicked the giant rhinoceroses. Even though Lin Shun was a second Tribulation Battle Emperor, he couldn't kill the two behemoths in one move. He only injured them, and they dropped two light balls with the attribute of blood and chi. Two poisonous rhinoceroses that are comparable to third Tribulation Battle Emperors. Damn it, they're so tough right from the start. They are both battle-hardened and have thick skin. Lin Shen's expression was solemn. Sure enough, I still hate those who are more resistant than me. Now is not the time to fight with them. The only way to win is to escape. Lin Shen quickly used the silent step and activated the innate shadow art with the Dark Calamity Battle Chi. He suppressed all his aura and rushed into the island of darkness at full speed. His cheeks were still bulging like a hamster. In this damn place, he had to be prepared to heal his injuries at any time. That kid went in? Oh no, we can't sense the space in the island of darkness. We can't sense the situation in the space below. The 9 saints surrounded one end of the island of darkness and hesitated. They had been saints for millions of years and were used to walking in the void and tearing the space apart. If they suddenly lost control of the space, they would instinctively feel uneasy like a bird with a broken wing. If they encountered a special situation, they could only rely on their body movement and their flying speed. I can still sense that kid's location. The 5 of you will guard the outside of the island. The 3 of you will follow me into the island. Ing Tianma said in a deep voice and flicked his sleeve. His cultivation was the strongest, so he was confident that he could deal with anything calmly. He ordered the 2 saints of the secret pavilion, the Shadow Saint and the Devil Saint, as well as Saint Fun, who could burn 10,000 flames and 10,000 poisons. The 4 saints formed a team, so they could deal with any unexpected situation calmly. This matter was of great importance. Once Lin Shun went deep into the Island of Darkness, they might not be able to catch him. Swoosh! The four saints rushed through the dense fog and landed on the Island of Darkness. When they sensed that the space in the Island of Darkness couldn't be torn apart, they frowned at the same time. This way, that kid really wants to go inside. Kill him. The four saints used their body movement techniques, and their speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Oh no, I forgot that I still have that old bastard mark on me. Lin Shen's expression changed slightly when he sensed the murderous aura behind him with the Eye of Nine Tribulations. In his original plan, he didn't expect that he would be locked onto. Chapter 9:33. Ying Qianma was a ruthless character in the assassin world, and his method of finding enemies was superb. Lin Chen didn't know how to deal with it. The most important thing was that the phantom doppelganger couldn't be used as a target to attract the opponent's attention. The doppelganger that could pass off as the real thing was also useless. Boom! Four huge and terrifying auras came from behind, and wherever they passed, all the ferocious beasts were suppressed until they trembled. Desperate situation. Lin Shun was in a real desperate situation. The disparity in this battle was even greater than the pseudo-god battle. Lin Shen's trump cards weren't enough to break out of this desperate situation. Absolute life and death, Sovereign's Descent, instant light, split shadow, God Slayer, and 5 runes were all not enough. Although absolute life and death was strong, it wasn't enough for Lin Shun to transform to the Saint Realm unless he was at the peak of the 5th tribulation. Sovereign's Descent was possible, but the opponent wouldn't give him time to hunt beasts to accumulate energy. Instant light, split shadow had unlimited potential, but it depended on the host's true strength as a foundation. The only Godslayer talent didn't have the prerequisite to activate, and it would be a waste to use it rashly. I still have 3 moves left, and I can only delay for a while at most. I have less than 640 points of advanced rune energy left, and in front of 4 saints, I can only use the slow rune once or twice. Do I have to rely on the gap created by the killing move and the slow rune to launch a sneak attack, and then pin all my hopes on the tier talent? What a joke! If I have to rely on luck to turn the tables, I might as well commit suicide. In the face of life and death, Lin Shen's consciousness turned quickly. He almost searched through all his trump cards, but he couldn't find a single possibility to turn the tables. That's right, that complete low-grade light attribute odd crystal. Lin Shen opened an exquisite jade box. The clear and bright light attribute odd crystal was like the most beautiful jade in the world, like a brilliant polar star that was quietly sealed in the jade box. This was the only complete odd crystal left for Lin Shun in the ancient sage inheritance. Lin Shun originally planned to try refining it after entering the sage realm or the peak of the 5th tribulation, but now he could only risk his life with it. Decompose this odd crystal, then use the decomposed special attribute value to create a batch of killing skills. Then use the killing skills I have on hand to activate absolute life and death to fight to the death with them. This is probably my, Lin Shen's, last struggle. Lin Shan was very clear that although a complete low-grade odd crystal was strong, it was impossible to rely on it to kill or defeat 4 saints. Mother Asterisker, if you want to kill me, you'll have to lose a few pieces of flesh. Lin Shen's eyes flashed with a fierce light. He was like a lone wolf that had been forced into a dead end. Even before death, he would tear off a few pieces of his enemy's flesh. Just as Lin Shan was about to order the system to decompose the light-type odd crystal, his mind exploded. Whoosh! As Lin Shan flew at high speed, he took out a golden gauntlet, and his heart trembled. War God Gauntlet. This was one of the most mysterious items that Lin Shan had obtained. He had worn it once, and was almost killed by it. But there was no doubt that the moment he wore the War God Gauntlet, Lin Shan indeed had the strength to contend with a saint. His pure strength was ridiculously strong. I'm much stronger now than when I was in the ancient sacred hall, but I'm still like an ant compared to it. But if I can hold on a little longer, maybe I won't die after using it once. But if he failed, not to mention killing a saint, Lin Shun would be smashed into meat paste by this thing first. Lin Shun hesitated for a tenth of a breath, and a monstrous, murderous aura enveloped Lin Shun like a tornado. The Dark Pavilion Old Ancestor led 3 saints and charged over from the void 100 miles away. The Dark Pavilion Old Ancestor is here? Lin Shun was shocked and immediately issued an order. System, show me all of my killing moves. Host has activated advanced blue rank killing skills. Skying Ice Storm, Skying Dark Thunder, Sky Splitting Sandstorm. For enemy targets have been locked on. The raging killing skills emerged. The murderous Ice Storm, Dark Thunder, and Sandstorm were aggressive and wanted to destroy the world. The thousands of attacks destroyed many forests and tore through the layers of fog. It's those strange attacks again. Be careful. The attacks can't be avoided. Take it head on. Ha ha, Lin Shun. This attack can't be compared to the last 2 times. Are you at the end of your rope? This old man will humiliate you well. Ing Tianma looked up to the sky and laughed wildly, revealing the ferocity that had been hidden for 10,000 years. His heart was already burning with rage. After being played by such a junior time and time again, he had long wanted to torture Lin Shun until he could neither live nor die. Taking advantage of the moment when the 4 saints were delayed by the killing skills, Lin Shun gritted his teeth and suddenly chewed a large amount of long Qingguo in his mouth. Damn it, I'll do it. Smack! Lin Shun put on the War God Gauntlet. Boom, boom, boom. The invincible power of absolute invincibility instantly enveloped Lin Shun, and the power that emerged from the War God Gauntlet was about to burst him. Bam, bam, bam. Just releasing a wisp of aura was enough to shatter the earth and lift up the foundation on both sides. Countless obstacles were overturned. Lin Shun's body was golden, and his eyes were shining with the golden light of the War God, creating some illusions. It was as if he was wearing golden armor and had a divine cape on his shoulders. The top of his head was filled with golden divine light. The 4 saints were shocked. His pure strength aura instantly soared to 90 million, breaking through 100 million dragon power points, and it was still rising rapidly. At this moment, Lin Shun was faintly exuding an invincible aura that could destroy thousands of worlds. In Lin Shun's arm, the meridians, flesh, and bones, everything became a dazzling golden color, releasing a divine power that could sink the sun and moon. It was as if a drop of blood could fill thousands of miles of mountains and rivers. Endless power exploded from his arm. This energy was the purest form of pure strength. It was many times stronger than Lin Shun's when he used the God Slayer, Sun God talent in the past. It was so powerful that it could destroy the space of the sacred boundary. The next moment, Lin Shun was immediately shaken until blood flowed out of his orifices. He swallowed and chewed the long Qingguo crazily, and his expression was full of shock and fear. Oh no, am I going to be shaken to death by it? In the depths of the island of darkness, the slender and exquisite figure paused for a moment. Her beautiful smile revealed a hint of doubt. Her skin was as fair as jade, and her hair was tied up. She had a slender waist, and her perfect curves seemed to be about to burst out of her orange-red dress. She could be said to be an enchanting beauty. What a domineering power. Could it be that other than me, someone else has reached the island of darkness? But isn't he afraid of alarming the holy beast Taodai by displaying his power so brazenly? There must be something fun. Let's go take a look. At a sword steel somewhere. A black robe swayed in the air, and blood soaked his clothes. Even the breathing of the black-robed person was very disorderly. Violent panting sounds came from under the cloak, accompanied by the rapid breathing. The round, jade-like figure in front of him trembled continuously, as if he had suffered an extremely serious injury. What a powerful swordsmanship. In the future, he will surpass the sword god of the human race. Lin Xingchen, this person may be the #1 source of trouble for our demonic tribe. Unless the main body comes out of seclusion, it will be difficult to suppress and kill this person. Retreat to the southern region of the sacred boundary first. My doppelganger still has important matters to attend to, so I can't die. The black-robed person tore through the void, escaped into the spatial crack, and disappeared. Chapter 9:34. At the edge of the island of darkness, within the golden light gauntlet, an inextinguishable divine radiance instantly burst forth. 1,000 times, 5,000 times, 10,000 times, 50,000 times, 100,000 times, 200,000 times. Lin Chun was shocked to the core. It was too terrifying. The pure power in his body was still rising. It was more than a few 100 million dragon power points. It was so strong that it could break through the heavens. Rumble. The golden light of annihilation was like the reflection of the moon and the stars, crazily gushing out from Lin Chen's body. What's that? This brat's pure power seems to have evolved to the level of a tempered sage. The four saints, who were surrounded by 3 sure-kill techniques, were horrified. Something's not right. Get rid of these damn things and retreat. Ing Tianma shouted. He felt that his life was in danger from Lin Chen's body. He had never felt this kind of danger before, even from some of the more powerful third heaven true saints. Chi, a grayish-white talisman, fell from the sky. It was almost 1,000 feet long, and it released an aura that could seal heaven and earth. Ing Tianma's eyes widened, and he shouted, "Be careful!" Bang! The moment the grayish-white talisman exploded, their bodies and the circulation of their saint power became extremely slow. The space became stagnant, and attacks that were weaker than sure-kill techniques were even more difficult. This was a level 6 slowing talisman that Lin Chun had used all his rune energy to create. 1 talisman to suppress 4 saints. However, there was not much time left. The current Lin Chun could not even protect himself. He could barely control the power that surged out of the god of war's gauntlet. It was like a wild horse, or more accurately, a dragon. No, I can't control it anymore. The situation this time is only slightly better than the previous time. Last time it was 5 seconds. This time, I'm afraid I'll explode and die from the power within 30 seconds. Lin Chun was burning with anxiety. He raised his right arm with difficulty, and even clenched his fist was difficult. Splat! Lin Chen's skin began to crack, and a large amount of blood sputtered out. Continuous activation of ultimate restoration. 1 intermediate talent point, 2 intermediate talent points. The ultimate convergence talent and Long Qingwo's energy were like rolling rivers and seas, frantically healing Lin Chen's injuries. Otherwise, it would be extremely difficult for Lin Chun to maintain his rationality at this moment. This feeling was like a berserk beast charging in his body, stirring up chaos and shattering. F***CK, let's fight. If I don't kill these bastards today, they'll still chase after me. System. Activate absolute life and death. Consumed 39 intermediate talent points. Locked onto the enemy target and activated absolute life and death talent. As blood blurred his vision, Lin Chun aimed at Saint Incineration without a word and activated his absolute life and death talent. TSK. As soon as absolute life and death was activated, Lin Chen's entire body began to burn with orange flames. His life force began to drain away. However, his strength had greatly increased by dozens of times. Lin Chun exerted all his strength, and blood kept spurting out from his body. His coin adornment crazily took out countless silver Saint Origin coins from the peach blossom plant pouch for Lin Chun to quickly refine, constantly increasing his energy. Lin Chun let out a hysterical roar and finally clenched his fist that was wearing the god of war gauntlet. It was as if he was holding hundreds of millions of dragons. This power was extremely difficult to control, but it was enough to destroy the world. Punch it out. If I punch it out, they're dead for sure. Lin Chun let out a roar that could burn everything. His body's strength gradually increased along with the absolute life and death talent's characteristics. Lin Shun wanted to punch out with this world-destroying punch. The moment before he punched, Lin Shin's heart and battle chi source burst with a tearing pain. It was so painful that he sucked in a breath of cold air. I can't punch it out. If I punch it out, I'll definitely die. The God of War Gauntlet's power is still increasing. If I use its full power, my body won't be able to withstand it. The explosive power will immediately shatter me. Lin Shin's thoughts were like lightning. Once again, he encountered a difficult problem. In this 1,000th of a second, his mind was thinking about many things. If he punched out, regardless of whether the four sages died or not, Lin Shun would definitely die. But what should I do? If I don't fight, I'll still die. I don't have the rune's energy to use the slowing rune again. The absolute life and death talent has also been activated. I have no way out. Fight. If I fight, I can even perish together with them. F*CK. I'll drag all of you down with me, even if I die. Lin Shun was about to perish together with them when he saw his clenched fist and was shocked. A flash of light struck Lin Shun like a bolt of lightning. F*CK. I'm so F*King stupid. I don't have to use my fist. Crack. The 5 golden fingers of the God of War Gauntlet loosened. Lin Shun grabbed his wrist with his left hand and pressed his thumb against his middle finger with difficulty, making a finger flick gesture. Endless dragon power gathered in his fingers, and the crystal walls in the space cracked inch by inch. At this moment, the 4 sages who were about to break free from the slowing rune felt their hair stand on end. A sense of impending doom emerged in their hearts. Die. Lin Shun was bathed in blood. He suddenly shouted and flicked his finger. Bang! A flash of golden light shot out from his golden fingertip, and the billions of dragon power that could shatter galaxies erupted. Rip! Boom! The terrifying pure power gathered at one point and exploded, sweeping through everything. Everything in front of Lin Shun was instantly annihilated into nothingness by a flash of golden light. The edge of the entire island was instantly torn into 2 halves. The crystal walls in the space cracked and split into 2, like a deep abyss that stretched across the sky. The sages didn't even have time to cry out before they turned into nothingness. Bang! Thousands of rays of golden light shot out from the end of the deep abyss. This finger tore the sky apart. This finger strike shattered the void. The sky collapsed, and the earth cracked. The power of this finger tore the island in front of Lin Shun into 2. Whoosh! A huge number of attribute light balls fell like flowers. Such a huge number of attribute points was the fall of a sage. The 4 sages from before died, without leaving behind even a trace. The finger of the God of War destroyed the world. On the island of darkness, why do I feel an extraordinary sense of oppression on the island? All the sages frowned and looked at each other. Suddenly, there was a loud bang in the island of darkness. Rip! The sound of space being torn apart reverberated above the sea. A ray of golden light shot out from the island of darkness. It crushed everything in its way and destroyed everything in its path. This terrifying ray of golden light scared the sages guarding the island of darkness so much that their faces turned pale. The golden light disappeared, and the crystal walls in the space cracked into a shocking abyss. Boom, boom, boom. Under the crack in space, the surface of the sea sank. An endless crack appeared on the surface of the sea, splitting the entire sea into 2. What is this? What kind of attack is this? There is such a terrifying existence on the island of darkness. All the sages were horrified. If this ray of golden light hit them directly, they would definitely be dead. There is such a terrifying existence on the island of darkness. Could it be that the powerful person behind the Black Horse Club has made his move? All the sages felt a chill down their spines. Whoosh! At this moment, space fluctuated, and an extremely miserable figure fell out of the crack in space. He was stepping on a space roulette, and his body was covered in blood. His right arm was missing. It was the patriarch of the Dark Pavilion, Tianma. At the critical moment, he was the first to break free from the restraints of the slow rune. He used all the energy of the space sacred artifact to achieve a difficult space travel and escaped. Even so, he still paid the price of an arm and serious injuries all over his body. He was on the verge of death. Patriarch Ing, what is the situation? What happened inside? Could it be that an expert has been born? The sages quickly asked. Ing Tianma's expression was extremely ugly. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. He gritted his teeth and said, "It's Lin Chun." All the sages' expressions changed again. Chapter 9:35. Seeing Ing Tianma's injuries, the sages' faces were especially ugly and filled with disbelief. Lin Chun, he was just a combat emperor. How could he force the Dark Pavilion's patriarch to such a state? Elder Ing, where are Saint Fun and the rest? One of the saints asked in a trembling voice. Ing Tianma said gloomily, "Dead." The remaining 5 sage realm experts felt their scalps explode. Dead? Even the shadow demon saints and Saint Fun of the Dark Pavilion had died. For saints besieged a combat emperor, and 3 of them died, and 1 was severely injured. Such a strange thing had never happened in the 36 domains of the sacred boundary. The golden light from before appeared in their minds, and they shuddered. If they were hit by that golden divine light, it could indeed blast the saints into smithereens. Ing Tianma sat cross-legged with difficulty to heal his injuries and said gloomily, "Going quickly. After that kid used his killer move, he shattered the mark I left on him. But now he's at his weakest. If we take him down now, we can get the ancient saint's inheritance." The 5 saints' mouths twitched. Damn it, did they want to die? This kid now had the ability to kill saints. Were they not courting death if they went in? My hidden pavilion has already lost 2 saints. Do you think I'll use the lives of my saints to trick you? We're only 1 step away. If he's swallowed by some ferocious beast, the ancient saint's inheritance will be gone. Ing Tianma sat cross-legged, and his saint power stabilized his injuries as he suddenly scolded coldly. His injuries were too severe, and he was already half a step into the gates of hell. If Lin Chun still had that strange attack that he couldn't dodge, then he would really die inside. The 5 saints hesitated. Damn it, is this the time to hesitate? That kid's secrets are not inferior to the ancient saint's inheritance. Don't you want the orange-grade battle technique and that godly skill? Ing Tianma was so angry that his teeth itched. The 5 saints were stunned. They thought of the Black Horse Club's godly skill that could split 1 into 5 and gritted their teeth. Let's do it now. We'll find him if we follow the direction of the space crack. Hurry up. Whoosh. Without further ado, the 5 saints rushed into the foggy Dark Island. Dark Island border region. Amazing. The absolutely beautiful girl who could charm all living things lightly covered her cherry lips, her beautiful eyes full of extraordinary splendor. She had personally witnessed the young man's shocking flick of the finger. With just a flick of his finger, he had killed 3 saints, and 1 of them had escaped. 3rd heaven, true saint realm? No, perhaps even a 4th-stage martial artist might not be able to reach this level of power, just relying on a flick of a finger. Too powerful. Who is this guy? The orange-robed man clicked his tongue in wonder. At this time, the cracked foundation split into 2. Lin Chen's body was dripping with blood as he fell to the ground. Among them was a 5-light supreme treasure chest and 3 orange treasure chests. Lin Chun felt dizzy. He didn't even have the strength to collect the attribute light balls. The war god bracers fell off and returned to their simple and unadorned state. The strange thing was that its golden light had dimmed a little. In the next moment, a strange suction force erupted from it, and it began to absorb the elemental light balls scattered in the void. Even the 5-light supreme treasure chest and the orange crystal treasure chest were absorbed by it. Lin Chun was almost angered to death. This thing was actually fighting with him for the elemental light balls. F***CKU, my attributes and treasure chests. Lin Chun was already an arrow at the end of its flight, and he was severely injured when he saw this scene. He was so angry that he fainted on the spot. Those were the elemental light balls dropped by the three saints. The war god bracers formed a vortex and absorbed the colorful elemental light balls. The light dimmed, and there was no change to its appearance. However, it increased in intensity by a notch. Little Dark Shadow scurried out of the peach blossom pouch and circled around Lin Chun worriedly. The purple lightning above its head condensed into a big question mark. In the next moment, Little Dark Shadow suddenly turned around and stared in a certain direction. It started to tremble. In the darkness, the young girl strode forward with her long, jade-like legs. Her orange robes were like flames as she walked towards Lin Chun and picked up his god of war bracers. Little Dark Shadow seemed to have sensed something and didn't dare to act rashly. The beautiful girl hesitated for a moment before gently putting on the war god bracers. She didn't find anything unusual. Hey, it's not a sacred artifact, nor is it a combat artifact. How can it have such terrifying lethality? The girl in orange played with it for a while and mumbled, "Boring. This is not interesting at all. Could it be some kind of sacred artifact that can only be used once?" Whoosh! Little Dark Shadow and the girl in orange looked into the distance at the same time as if they sensed something. A saint has entered the island of darkness. It must be this guy who provoked them. Where is he? Didn't Tianma say that he was here? Why isn't there even a ghost? The five saints were stunned when they arrived at the starting point of the dimensional rift. They released their sacred power to check the surroundings, but there was no sign of Lin Chun at all. There was only a large number of brutal dire beast auras. What should we do? Should we retreat first? This kid is too strange. The two Sage Realm experts hesitated. They were already terrified of the golden light. Most people couldn't stay calm when facing a creature that could kill them instantly. Saints were no exception. No, now is the best time. Suddenly, an old saint in blue spoke. According to Tianma, this kid was already heavily injured when he used his killer move. I don't think he can use such a powerful trump card a second time in such a short time. The blue-robed old man said meaningfully, "This child has too many secrets. Even if he just casually grasps one of them, he would be able to break through his current bottleneck. Now that the hidden pavilion is heavily damaged and the other saints are tied down, if we take Lin Chun and then turn around to finding Tianma, everyone should understand what I mean." His words enlightened the other four saints. That was right. If they could take down Lin Chun now, they would have the chance to take all of Lin Chun's secrets for themselves. Because the secret pavilion, which involved all the forces, had been heavily damaged. The Shadow Demon Twin Saints had fallen, and Tianma was severely injured. In addition, Lin Chun's secrets were more than the ancient saint's inheritance as originally planned. It was worth the risk. But what if there's a powerful force behind the Black Horse Club? Another saint said worriedly. They have been forced to this extent, and the Black Horse Club backer still hasn't shown up. There are only two possibilities. Either they don't have a backer at all, or they can't come because of certain conditions. The old man in blue laughed sinisterly. Everyone, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We don't have time to think about it now. The saints looked at each other and nodded seriously. Join forces. Take away Lin Chun and deal with the secret pavilion. The five saints each had their own ulterior motives. They entered the Dark Island and carefully searched for Lin Chun's traces in the vast island. 15 minutes after the five saints left, two more figures appeared in a flash and stepped into the void. Chapter 9:36. The edge of the island has been split in half. The crystal walls of Dark Island have actually been torn apart. How is this possible? Even a third heaven true saint wouldn't possess such destructive power. The man and woman's aura were actually at the true saint realm. The rich lady's eyes were sharp, and her eyebrows raised slightly. Could it be that someone has snuck into Dark Island? Who is so bold? Or did someone discover my transaction? 2 days later, during this period of dizziness, Lin Chun felt as though his entire body was being torn apart. His bones, meridians, blood, and flesh felt as though they were being torn apart time and time again. However, there seemed to be pieces of long kingwo meat being pushed into Lin Chen's mouth every time, causing his vitality to recover at an astonishing speed. In addition, Lin Chen had consumed a large amount of long kingwo before this. His physique was strong, and his vitality was extremely tenacious. In 2 days, his injuries had healed by a lot. Where am I? Lin Chen opened his eyes with difficulty. The first thing he remembered was the attribute light ball, the 5 light treasure chest, and the orange crystal treasure chest that he had missed. He cursed on the spot. F***CK. My attribute points and treasure chests. Lin Chen shouted agitatedly. Just as he was about to get up, he sucked in a breath of cold air from the pain. Lin Chen scanned the area with his spiritual consciousness and discovered that his surroundings were cold and desolate. He was in the middle of a valley. You're finally awake. What kind of treasure chest were you talking about? The young lady sat at the edge of the cliff, biting into a berry with her white teeth and swinging her snow-white legs. The moment he saw the young lady, Lin Chen's first impression was one of amazement, so stunned that Lin Chen was stunned for a moment. He had seen many beauties. The peerless Bai Ruoyan, the icy Lung Yueqi, the elegant Ning Qing Xian, the gentle Yun Man Qing, the refined Shangwan Bihan, the eccentric Yulin Lin, the dreamy Yen Xian Yun, and so on. But he had never seen a beauty like the girl in front of him. She had a fiery and explosive devilish figure and a beautiful young girl's face. However, the temperament between her brows was charming and mature. When she looked around, she could use her gaze to make a man surrender. She was like a young girl with a face that was beautiful and pure like an angel, yet she had a devilish figure that caused others to be unable to take their eyes off her. Every single smile and frown of hers emitted an aura of charm that could turn all living things upside down, and she was enchanting to the extreme. What a beautiful demon! Almost everyone's first impression of this woman, including Lin Chen, was that of a vixen. The next moment, Lin Fan's pupils shrank. This was because he saw that the seductive little demon girl was still playing with his god of war gauntlet. Woo-woo, little shadow, came out of the peach blossom plant pouch and rubbed against Lin Chen. The corner of Lin Chen's mouth twitched, and he scolded little shadow telepathically. Why didn't you take my things back, you disappointing fellow? Little shadow felt wronged, and purple lightning gathered on top of his head. Because she's really too fierce and too big. Lin Chen was stunned. He propped himself up with one hand and leaned against the cliff. He looked at the young girl with a righteous gaze, and her orange dress was about to burst. The corner of his mouth twitched. Who can withstand this? Hey, Lin Chen, what exactly is this thing of yours? It can even kill a saint, but why can't I see what material it is made of? The girl in orange was puzzled. Lin Chen was shocked. You know me? The girl raised her eyebrows. Isn't it written on your gold roll? Genius roll, Lin Chen. Lin Chen covered his chest and pursed his lips. You actually touched me. I had that roll in my pants. You have to take responsibility. Whoosh! The girl's figure flashed, and her slender fingers lifted Lin Chen's chin. She smiled seductively and said, How should I take responsibility? Lin Chen cursed inwardly and grinned. Return my treasure to me first. It's useless to you even if you want it. The girl waved her Aries wristband and shook it. She said with a half-smile, I really like your big treasure. If you want to take it back, you have to do me a favor. After it's done, I'll return it to you. Lin Chen was stunned. Big treasure? Heya. He was the only one who teased others. Today was the first time he was teased by a girl. What kind of favor? Why don't you return my treasure to me first? Let's do it another day. You can look for me again after you've thought it through. The girl smiled. I've already thought it through. Your body's current condition can't be changed. Let's do it today. Lin Chen, what kind of favor do I have to help you with today? The girl, go to the depths of Dark Island and find some fun and treasures. Lin Chen swallowed his saliva. How deep? I don't have any special skills. This is my special skill. The girl smiled. Then we'll have to see if you can hold on while growing up, because I need the help of your little shadow. This little guy will only listen to your orders. After this, I'll return your specialty treasure to you. How about it? Lin Chun pondered for a moment. Okay, it's a deal. Also the girl, Lin Chun, you're so flirtatious. The girl blinked and smiled. Same here. The saints looking for you have already entered Dark Island. You have to hurry up and recover. A man has to be tough enough to be a real man. 12 hours later, Lin Chun took another 20 long Kingwo and activated his ultimate recovery talent 7 times in a row. After that, his injuries were completely healed. The girl sized up Lin Chun as if she had discovered a new species. She clicked her tongue in wonder. You're really a monster. Although you have long Kingwo, you can still recover from such injuries in such a short time. The girl knew the state Lin Chun was in when she first found him. Half of his meridians were broken, all his bones were broken, and his internal organs were severely injured. He was in a terrible state. If an ordinary genius was injured like Lin Chen's, they would have to rest for at least a few months or even half a year before they could get out of bed if they didn't want their future talents to be affected. Lin Chun was very lucky to have survived after using the God of War bracers. If it weren't for the ultimate recovery talent that could heal his injuries quickly, the large amount of Long Kingwo that could heal his injuries, the absolute life and death that could increase his strength, and the large amount of Silver Saint Origin coins that could increase his battle aura, without any of the above factors, he wouldn't have been able to last 30 seconds wearing the God of War bracers. Now that I think about it, I'm still a bit scared. I really did walk through the gates of hell. Fortunately, I didn't punch them out. Instead, I used a flick. Lin Chun heaved a sigh of relief, but he was looking forward to it. With the God of War bracers, he could kill 3 saints with a flick of his finger. What if he could completely control it? The most important thing now was to get the God of War bracers back from the girl. This girl gave Lin Chun a vague sense of danger. Lin Chun couldn't see through her. The fact that she dared to enter the Dark Island alone was enough to prove her strength. He couldn't take her by force. Sigh, what a pity for my attribute points. Lin Chun felt that it was a pity. He opened the system with a thought. The next moment, the system screen made Lin Chun's jaw drop. It was as if he had seen a ghost. Host has opened the 5 Light Supreme treasure chest. You have received the seed of a low-grade plant of providence, pure gold seed. What the F*** CK? The seed of a plant of providence. Chapter 9:37. Low-grade plant of luck seed. Obtaining the 3rd plant of luck seed meant that he could begin to learn the ancient sage's odd crystal nurturing secret technique. Lin Chun was ecstatic. Could it be that the war god's wristband didn't absorb my attribute light balls? Lin Chun quickly opened the system and blurted out with a dark face, "Damn. Heaven Path Attribute Pickup System version 6.0 host. Lin Chun. Cultivation. Second Tribulation Combat Emperor. Advanced Essence. 399,500 points limit strength. 40 million dragon power. Advanced Health. 438,566 points. Advanced Spirit Attribute. 74 points. Heaven Ascension Peak. Advanced Cultivation Method Essence. 2,570 points. Advanced Rune Energy. 100 points. Intermediate Heaven Path points. 3,625 points. Intermediate Talent points. 110 points. Blank Attribute. 1. 0. 3 million points. Strengthening points. 3. 84 million points. Advanced Elemental Energy. 89 points for fire. 63 points for earth. 60 points for wood. 78 points for metal. 88 points for water. 79 points for lightning. 75 points for wind. 54 points for light. 81 points for darkness. Cultivation Method Status Column. Open or not. Bloodline Status Column. Open or not. Passive Talent Column. Open or not. Fatal Skill Column. Open or not. Active Talent. Purple Rank. Stealing Omen. Purple Rank. Fatal Bloodthirst. Purple Rank. Superdimensional Teleportation. Purple Rank. Ultimate Moment. Purple Rank. Ultimate Return. Purple Rank. Sovereign's Descent. Quasi-Orange Rank. Absolute Life and Death. Cooldown. 3 days. Orange Rank. instant light split shadow, orange rank. 1 time, God Slayer, orange rank 1 time. Heaven Defying, 1/2. Fragment characteristic rune column, open or not. Talent combination skill, open or not. Other than the growth attribute value that had soared, the other attribute values had decreased by a large amount. Especially the rune energy. If not for opening an orange crystal treasure chest, there wouldn't be any left. Damn, it seems that the War God's wristband only didn't absorb the attribute treasure chest and took all the attribute light balls. What the hell is this thing? It's not a sacred weapon or a divine weapon, yet it snatched the attribute light balls from me. Lin Shun gritted his teeth. Snatched attribute light balls? He didn't even dare to think about it in the past. If I can absorb the attribute light balls dropped by the Sage Realm experts, I might be able to break through to the 4th Tribulation Combat Emperor Realm. That would be a loss of more than 100 million. Wait a minute. Lin Shin suddenly thought of something. He opened the treasure bar and found an item. Upgrade key. When Lin Shin obtained the Heaven-Defying talent fragment, he also obtained an upgrade key. Do you want to use the upgrade key? Use. Activating the upgrade key and activating the upgrade function. Host must fulfill the following conditions in order to upgrade a portion of the system's functions. 3 million strengthening points, 5,000 advanced cultivation technique soul essences, 6,000 intermediate heavens path points. Collect enough attribute points to upgrade system strengthening function, increasing the strengthening limit to plus 15. Hiss. Lin Shun sucked in a sharp breath. Upgrade the strengthening function up to plus 15? This was F*King ridiculous. The plus 13-9 calamities of creation had already caused Lin Shun to undergo a qualitative transformation. The overall power of his mental cultivation method had increased by 240%. How much would plus 15 increase? Even if the strengthening effect of plus 13 increased by 70% for each level, plus 15 would at least increase the power to 380%. Putting myself in a desperate situation and fighting to survive, this is considered a blessing in disguise. I can collect more attribute points, but I only have 1 life. When Lin Shan was going through the heavenly tribulation, he had attacked many Sage Realm experts and triggered the tearing talent. The elemental attribute points he obtained from injuring Sage Realm experts had almost doubled. Coupled with the fact that his cultivation had broken through 2 realms, the current Lin Shun was extremely powerful. He could even wrestle with the experts above the 4th Tribulation Combat Emperor Realm, which he had found difficult to deal with in the past. Lin Shin opened the peach blossom seed pouch and planted the new pure gold seed tree. Without the Tiani holy water, Lin Shin could only use a dozen golden Saint Origin coins and a large amount of silver Saint Origin coins to cultivate the pure gold seed tree. Lin Shin now had 3,700,000 silver Saint Origin coins, 194 Long Kingwo coins, and 145 golden Saint Origin coins left. He had used up a lot of resources for various emergencies, such as recovering Little Shadow and breaking through. However, Lin Shin didn't have to worry about that for now. The 2 spiritual plants of providence that had reached their peak would produce more than 2 million silver Saint Origin coins a day. This was the foundation of a spiritual plan of providence at its peak. A low-grade spiritual plan of providence could support an entire 2nd-grade sect, and 2 of them could support a 4th-grade sect. Lin Shun had 2 spiritual plants of providence to himself. To put it bluntly, his wealth was at the top of the genius ranking. Hey, a Sage Realm expert is approaching us. The girl turned her head and looked at Lin Shin. No problem. Let's go. Lin Shin activated the innate shadow art and disappeared into the darkness. The girl was surprised. Then, she activated her innate shadow art, and the 2 of them quickly left. Little Shadow returned to Lin Shin's peach blossom seed pouch to continue recuperating while the 2 of them left the valley. What do you want me to help you with? Lin Shun asked seriously as the 2 of them moved stealthily. He didn't release his doppelganger. It might be more convenient if he used his doppelganger, but he wanted to keep his trump card and hide himself. This was a special situation. He only had 100 rune energy, and he didn't have any killing moves. Lin Chun didn't have any means to fight a sage, so he had to be careful. I want you to go to the deepest part of Dark Island with me. There are more than 2 sage beasts living here. We have to pass through the territory of one sage beast and reach the territory of the other sage beast. Then we have to steal something. The girl unfolded a scroll. There were vivid phoenix patterns on it. It was a phoenix feather. This item is called the immortal phoenix feather. It has fallen into the hands of a sacred beast on the Island of Darkness. I need your Umbra to sneak into the void to steal this item, because even ordinary saints cannot tear the space on the Island of Darkness apart. However, your Umbra has the innate aptitude of Umbra, so it can still travel through the void and the spatial crystal wall of the Island of Darkness. Originally, I was going to try to sneak into its territory. With your help, the success rate might increase. If we're discovered, I'll take action and delay the sage beast. It depends on whether you can sneak in or not. Lin Chun took the scroll. The charm of the immortal phoenix feather made his true flame, purple phoenix bloodline throb. No problem. Once you're done, you can return my wrist guard to me. Lin Chun nodded. This girl seemed to know Dark Island very well. Lin Chun had to rely on her now. There were already sages on Dark Island. There might be sages guarding outside. Now is not the time to leave Dark Island. Right, what's your name? Lin Chun asked. The girl parted her hair and smiled. TSK. My name doesn't matter. You can call me whatever you like. Lin Chun was startled. Then, he teased. You call that a treasure? The girl giggled. Whatever you like. After saying that, she winked at him. Lin Chun called her a vixen in his heart. The two of them quickly went deep into Dark Island. Chapter 9:38. Outside the White Frost City, the chaotic battle between the Sage Realm experts lasted for half a day. Then, 2 auras descended with a loud bang and broke the momentum of the chaotic battle between the Sage Realm experts. One of the golden-robed men exuded a baleful aura as he berated, "Where is Lin Chun? He is Lian Wanjin of the 4th Grade Chamber of Commerce." That guy really came quickly. For his son, he didn't even care about his business. This isn't his greedy personality. The saints on both sides separated. Some were surprised, and some frowned. The other saint had a sharp gaze and a domineering aura. He carried a saint's sword and coldly looked at all the saints present. The sword aura he emitted was so strong that it made the saints from the Ice Heart Palace turn serious. This was a powerful sword cultivator not inferior to the Thunder Sword Saint. A true saint of the sword. President Wanjin, that little bastard Lin Chun has been chased to Dark Island by the ancestor of the Dark Pavilion, Ing Tianma. These are all Lin Chun's accomplices. Could this be the nominal elder of the Extreme Heaven Pavilion, Qin Clan's Sword Saint, Qin Jintian? Saint Mo Qing cupped his fists and asked politely. Sword Saint glanced at him and coldly said, "That brat dared to hurt Xiaotian. I will destroy his Black Horse Club." Where did the rest of the Black Horse Club go? The others have already disappeared. However, they're most likely in that brat's Destiny Plant pouch. The geniuses of the Black Horse Club have not appeared since he went into seclusion. Qin Jintian frowned and looked down at the saints. His 5 fingers tore through the void as he stepped on a sword light and left in the direction of Dark Island. Lian Wanjin followed closely behind, and even more Sage Realm experts gathered towards Dark Island. Outside Dark Island, fog lingered and illusions appeared. It was a strange island that ordinary creatures could not enter. 3 people walked out from a spatial crack located at the periphery of the spatial crack. 2 old men and 1 young woman, 1 old man and 1 old woman. The last one was a beautiful and dreamy woman. She was none other than Yin Qianyan. I really can't persuade you. However, let me say this first. We can only act according to the situation. We might not be able to help that brat. The old woman lectured Yin Qianyan with a doting and somewhat reproachful tone. The white-robed old man stroked his beard and said, "We have always been neutral. Once we act, it will affect the forces behind us. Little Yin don't have high expectations of us. Elders, please allow Qianyan to be willful. This time, I really don't want anything to happen to him, Yin begged. The two old men sighed helplessly and waved their hands, blocking the heavenly secrets. When the two elders attacked, even Tianma did not sense the existence of the three. This kid's fate is truly void. Even I can't divine his location on Island of Darkness. What? That old ghost Tianma is actually heavily injured? What? What's going on? Who has the ability to injure him? The old heavens sex elders looked. Wan jeans a day. In the gloomy mountain range of the Island of Darkness, there was an exquisite palace that looked like it was made of precious stones. A shadow quietly sneaked out of the darkness. Lin Shen's body was flowing with dark calamity battle chi, perfectly concealing his own aura. The little demon girl was wearing a hazy gauze that was as thin as a cicada's wings, but it completely concealed her aura. It was not inferior to Lin Shen's innate shadow art. Lin Shen clicked his tongue in wonder. The two of them sneaked into the palace. Lin Shen's innate shadow art seemed to be of the same origin as the Shadow Clan. Although it couldn't travel through the void, it could perfectly conceal one's aura. Apart from Tianma's special methods, most Saint Realm experts couldn't see through this secret technique. System, I want to learn the 8th transformation of Azura 9 Brilliance transformations. Consuming 13 advanced technique soul essences, beginning to fuse cultivation memories into doppelganger. Lin Shen activated the system to learn the 8th transformation that he had obtained from the conference. Unlike before, the 9 brilliance transformations that Lin Shen had obtained before were all incomplete. Although the order of each transformation was correct, there were always some details and essences missing. This caused the secret technique itself to be incomplete, causing Lin Shen to enter a severely weakened state. Although Lin Shen relied on his strong physique and life force to overcome this weakness, the flaw still existed. However, the Azura 9 brilliance transformations he had obtained from the Great Assembly perfectly recorded the essences of the 1st layer transformations to the 8th layer transformations. If Lin Shen were to use the 8th layer transformations in the future, there would be no flaws, and his power would rise to another level. Lin Shen was once again amazed by the power of the level 6 illusory rune. All the cultivation memories were given to his doppelganger to fuse and absorb. He could do more on his own. It was a kind of cheating exhilarating. There was a powerful spatial enchantment behind the palace. Even a saint couldn't forcefully open it. The only way was to enter through the palace. The two of them went deep into the palace without alerting any ferocious beasts. Lin Shen and the little demon girl ran all the way to the highest window of the palace. When they looked through the window into the palace, Lin Shen was surprised to see that there were many young humans in the palace. What was even more mysterious was that some of these humans were on the genius rankings. Their aptitudes were extraordinary. Their hands and feet were shackled with special materials, as if they had become the maids and servants of this place. This time, as long as we pass through the palace, we can sneak into the depths of Dark Island. The little demon girl giggled at Lin Shen. This is the territory of the holy Taodai beast that lives on Dark Island. It loves to devour human geniuses and raise humans in captivity. I heard that it occasionally holds competitions where humans hunt each other. It's extremely disgusting. The little demon girl pointed at a seductive young woman in the hall. She was dressed in revealing clothes, had a beautiful face, and a hot body. The only flaw was that her mouth was too big. When she smiled, the gap between her lips extended to her cheeks, making her look eerie and strange. Her opponent was a human Saint Realm expert. At this moment, the two of them were talking. Lin Shen and the little demon girl could hear their conversation by slightly activating their battle chi. Xiao Qing, the saint has sneaked into the island this time. Don't tell me you brought them here? It was the young Taodai woman's voice. Madam, we've been doing business for so many years. Don't you trust my reputation? The green shirt saint laughed. Oomph. If you dare to play dirty, I'll be the first to swallow you. The young Taodai woman frowned and warned. Then she asked, Where are my goods? How's the harvest this time? Hee hee, the harvest is not bad. This time, we've kidnapped a large group of geniuses. There's a boy you like and a female genius who likes to eat. While the two of them were talking, the little demon girl nodded at Lin Shun. This is a good opportunity. Let's sneak behind the palace while they're talking. No problem. Lin Shun nodded. He was not a merciful person. Now that he could not even save himself, he did not plan to save the humans in the palace. Just as Lin Shun was about to take a detour and leave, the conversation in the hall caused him to freeze. I heard that Madam was paying attention to the female geniuses on the genius ranking a few years ago. I specially abducted 2 girls on the genius ranking, Qin Juyan and Qin Miao, from the Qin family. You should have heard of their names. One is hot and the other is gentle. I guarantee that Madam will be satisfied. While the green shirt Saint was talking cheerfully, Lin Shun froze on the spot. Qin Miao, and Qin Juyan, they were abducted and sold here. Chapter 9:39. I spent a lot of effort on these 2 girls. They're both pure-blooded virgins. Madam, you'll like them. The green shirt Saint waved his hand, and 2 balls of holy light appeared. The 2 beauties were inside the balls of holy light. This holy power can only protect them for a while. It's a life-saving measure left behind by the saint of their family. However, with Madam's means, it shouldn't last for more than 3 days. You'll be able to melt it, and then the people inside will be at your mercy. The green shirt Saint smiled. The Taotai woman's eyes lit up. Yes, as expected, your aptitude and physique are excellent. 1 fire and 1 water, very good. You didn't let me down. The 2 girls glared at him, but more than that, they were scared and trembling. When the holy light dissipated, they would die. Even the 2 girls didn't expect that they would encounter the infamous green shadow stealer, Qi Faming, on their way to the conference of the 4 powers. This person had stolen treasures from many sects and was wanted by many forces. They didn't expect that he would even kidnap and sell people. Although they activated their family's blue sea holy light shield in a hurry, they couldn't resist the saint realm Qi Faming and were kidnapped. So that the news released at the end of the conference of the 4 powers was true. These 2 sisters were kidnapped and sold here. Lin Shun frowned. To save them or not to save them? In the current situation, Lin Shun couldn't save them at all. Moreover, he had almost used up all his means and trump cards to fight against the saint. Even now, Lin Shun's strength had skyrocketed. He still couldn't resist the saint realm. These were 2 completely different levels of living beings. However, if he didn't save them, Lin Shun's heart would be filled with demons. The obstacles of cultivation were far more than the bottleneck of cultivation. Lin Shun had always followed his heart, so even if he failed, he had never encountered any demons in his heart. To be honest, he and the sisters had met by chance and didn't have a deep relationship. Lin Shun wasn't someone who couldn't move when he saw a few beauties. However, when the 2 girls were in the ancient sacred palace, when all the geniuses and prodigies were pointing at him, they risked their lives to stand on his side. What's wrong? This is a good chance to rush through the palace. Shui Mining was puzzled. Lin Shun exhaled. His eyes became especially sharp as he said seriously, "No, I have to save them before I leave." The little demoness was stunned. She looked into the hall, her beautiful eyes rippling as she smiled charmingly. "I didn't expect you to like this type. Which one of the sisters do you fancy? They're friends with me. If they leave just like that, I won't be able to let them go." Lin Shun shook his head. Shui Mining's reaction was beyond his expectations. "If you want to save him, then go ahead. But let me say this first. You're the one who caused this trouble. I won't do anything. You only have 2 days at most. We still have to hurry on with our journey." Shui Mining's answer surprised Lin Shun. "Aren't you afraid that I'll affect your whereabouts? What are you afraid of? Great risks are often accompanied by great benefits. If you save them, I'll go find some other entertainment. That's a deal. We'll run away after we've saved them in 2 days." After completing the transaction, Qi Faming left behind 190 fearful young geniuses and the Qin sisters. Hee hee hee. After swallowing you, my sacred Taotai heart will be able to improve further. The young Taotai woman opened her mouth and flicked out her scarlet tongue. With a swoosh, she swept up 10 young geniuses and swallowed them. She was still not satisfied. This batch of goods is great, but the main dish is more important. I'll put them on the smelting altar and refine them well. I'll come back and eat you later. After the young Taotai woman swept away the 2 sisters, the remaining young geniuses were shocked. They wanted to run away, but their battle cheese were sealed so tightly that they couldn't even fly. Lin Shun transformed into a shadow and moved stealthily. The young Taotai woman brought the Qin sisters to the 9th floor underground. Lin Shun followed behind her. There was actually another world below the palace. A red altar that was hundreds of feet tall was placed here. The 2 sisters were brought into the altar. Lin Shun was secretly shocked. There's actually a natural spatial barrier here. What a cunning saint beast. If I had rashly approached just now, I'm afraid I would have triggered a reaction from the spatial barrier and exposed myself instantly. Chi. The altar was ignited and a red fire began to burn fiercely from the surface of the altar. The holy light barrier of the 2 girls gradually softened and disintegrated. There's no need for 3 days. In less than 12 hours, the holy light protecting you will be refined into nothingness by me. Little babies, none of you will be able to escape. The young Taotai woman opened her mouth and laughed wildly. The 2 girls' expressions changed drastically. They were at a loss. Let's go back and eat those little guys first. I've already endured for a long time. I can't endure any longer. My body is about to break down. The young Taotai woman left while drooling. She left the 9th floor underground and allowed the red flames on the altar to burn fiercely. This flame was very mysterious. Rather than calling it a flame, it was more like a special energy that burned at high speed. It was absorbing the Saint Chi, protecting the 2 girls. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. The flames of the red altar were actually filled with a bunch of red attribute bubbles. They were all special attribute values. Sister, are we really going to die here? Qin Juyan's heart trembled, and her beautiful face turned pale. Qin Miao gritted her teeth and held her sister's jade-like hand. Little Shadow should be able to pass through this spatial barrier, but saving the 2 sisters on the altar will alarm that Taotai. We have to lure her away. But after luring her away, how can we ensure that she won't return in a short period of time? While Lin Chen was deep in thought, he suddenly slapped his thigh. Isn't there a ready-made saint stage cultivator entering the Dark Island? Damn it. As long as it's a female, I don't believe that my handsome Black Horse Club can't deal with her. Let's arrange a honey trap. In a spacious secret room in the palace, a group of young and handsome youths fell to the ground, foaming at the mouth and twitching all over. The corner of the young Taotai woman's mouth was full of blood. She slapped the unconscious youth on the bed and cursed, "Useless thing." The young woman looked around the secret room. There was no one else who could fight. The ruthlessness that was carved into her bones appeared on her expression again. Her breathing began to become rapid and heavy. "Madam, you are so thirsty. I'm so anxious." The young man pushed open the door and entered with a smile on his face. His face was delicate and pretty, like a jade crown. He looked like a jade-faced scholar who didn't have the strength to truss a chicken. This young man had a delicate and pretty appearance, but his figure was tall and straight. He had an imposing appearance, gentle and refined, but he didn't lose his wildness. The eyes of the young Taotai woman, who was breathing heavily, lit up. "Who are you?" "You actually have the aura of the Dragon King's heaven-raising spear. Are you dragon? Come here." The young Taotai woman, whose rationality had been blinded by desire, didn't even care about the origins of this young man. She grabbed him and sucked him over. This young man was naturally Lin Chen's clone. However, he had revealed his true appearance. Chapter 940. Outside the Island of Darkness, Ing Tianma sat cross-legged on the surface of the sea. Whoosh! The space cracked open, and 2 figures rushed over. One was a sharp sword aura, and the other was a dazzling golden light. Ing Tianma's pupils trembled, and he said in a low voice, "It's you too, Ing Tianma. You old ghost, you're actually injured?" Lien Wanjin and the sword saint of the Qin clan were shocked. This old man was stronger than them, and now he was seriously injured? Oomph, that's what the Dark Horse Gang has done. I've already called the other saints of my secret pavilion. That Lin Shun is the target of my secret pavilion. You'd better not meddle in other people's business. Although Ing Tianma was injured, he didn't retreat. Lien Wanjin's expression was particularly interesting. How could the Black Horse Club have a trump card that could injure Heavenly Demon? What was Lin Chen's background? Lien Wanjin, who was as cunning as a fox, instantly realized that something was wrong. You're more cunning than anyone. You're seriously injured, but you're still here. It seems that I've made the right choice. Lien Wanjin laughed and rushed into the Island of Darkness. Ing Tianma's expression changed. The Sword Saint of the Qin clan, Qin Jintian, hesitated for a moment, and also turned into a sword light and escaped into the Island of Darkness. Damn it! Ing Tianma gritted his teeth, but he didn't dare to act rashly due to his injuries. In the south of the Island of Darkness, the surroundings were gloomy. The south was filled with the smell of blood, and countless ferocious beasts had fallen. 5 silhouettes flashed across the sky, moving through the mountains like rainbows. They were the 5 sages who had entered the island to capture Lin Shun. We've searched everywhere, but we can't find him. What's going on? Considering that he's seriously injured, it's impossible for him to escape from our pursuit. Was he swallowed by a ferocious beast? No. All the ferocious beasts we encountered were all disemboweled. None of them swallowed a human. If we continue forward, we'll reach the Taotiez territory on the Island of Darkness. This big guy is not easy to deal with. This is its home ground. If it's not easy to deal with, let's search it. I don't believe that the 5 of us can't deal with it. The 5 Saint Realm experts charged toward the territory of the Taotai Holy Beast. Inside the palace's secret chamber, Lin Chen's clone was grabbed by Taotai. His aura made Taotai intoxicated, and it burned with desire. The Dragon King's heaven-raising spear was a weapon only possessed by high-level dragons. The Long Kingwo had the pure aura of a dragon. Although it was a sacred healing item and a sacred body refining item, it had an even more important use. Those who consumed Long Kingwo for a long period of time had a certain probability of obtaining a powerful weapon like the Dragon King's heaven-raising spear. Dragons were lustful creatures, and powerful dragons had more than 3,000 harems. Lin Shen had taken a large amount of Long Kingwo, which had transformed his body into a powerful dragon. In addition, he had 2 great dragon bloodlines, so obtaining the Dragon King's Heaven's Raising Spear was just a matter of time. It could be said that everyone in the Black Horse Club had this divine weapon. Moreover, Lin Shen's physique and aptitude were excellent. Taotai was a saint beast, and it loved to eat humans with great potential the most. Therefore, to the Taotai, the young man in front of her was a choice whether to eat him in bed or not. However, just as Lin Shun was about to fall into the young woman's hands, his eyes sharpened, and he activated the Stealing Omen talent. Consumed 2 mid-level talent points. Stolen Omen talent obtained 50,000 high-level health points. Boom! Lin Shen's pure strength increased by 1. 2 million dragon power points. At the critical moment when he fell into the young woman's hands, the clone smiled. Super-dimensional teleportation. Consumed 1 mid-level talent point. Host activated super-dimensional teleportation and teleported to Space 6. Whoosh! The clone disappeared. The Taotai was stunned. Teleportation? How is that possible? How can someone use teleportation in the space of Dark Island? Just as the Taotai was about to explode in anger, she realized that the young man's aura was still in the palace. She couldn't help but grin and sweep her scarlet tongue. Little baby, no matter where you come from, you can't escape from my hands. Is this the Taotiez palace? A palace made of grade, 7 ores. How extravagant. Oomph. There's a high chance that Lin Shun has fallen into her hands. Let's just force her out. The 5 saints arrived outside the palace and looked around. Suddenly, the blue-clothed saint trembled, and he was overjoyed. I feel it. I've detected that young man's aura. As soon as he said that, the young man's laughter echoed in the palace. Come and catch me. If you catch me, I'll let you. He smack, smack, smack. The 5 saints' faces darkened. Damn it. How dare this young man be so carefree? Bang. The blue-robed saint blasted open the door of the palace with his palm and rushed in with the 4 saints without saying a word. In the palace hall, a naked young woman was pressing the young man to the ground. She didn't even have time to eat him. Oh, madam, it seems like someone is going to disturb our fun. Lin Shun smiled coquettishly. The 5 saints' mouths twitched. No wonder this young man barged into Dark Island so fearlessly. He had hooked up with the holy beast Tautai of Dark Island. The young woman was stunned. She shook out a few snow waves. She was charming and hot, but her expression was solemn. Lin Shun Dai, one holy beast Tautai can't protect you. Rumble. The 5 saints' aura surged. Their holy light was like rainbows, and the entire palace shook. The 5 saints instantly aimed at Lin Chen's clone and the young woman. The underground altar was shaking nonstop. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. They've started fighting, but I didn't have time to lure the Tautai out. If she immediately gives in to the 5 saints and hands over my clone, she might return here at any time. I can't care so much. Say the people first. At Lin Chen's command, Little Shadow rushed out of the peach blossom plant pouch, turned into a black cloud, and shrouded Lin Shun. It passed through the space barrier with a whoosh. The moment he deactivated the innate shadow spell, his figure appeared. The 2 women on the altar froze. Lin Shun, Lin, young Master Lin Shun. As the 2 women exclaimed, Lin Shun removed the 1,000 illusion mask and released all of his clones. The clones held the azure moon and the sky-raising sacred sword. They activated the ultimate moment. Sword Fury Sky, Mirror Moon Imperial God. Whoosh! The orange sword slashed furiously. The Mirror Moon sword whistled and cut open a gap in the red altar's flames. Chi! The other 2 clones used the dark step and rushed into the altar through the gap. At that moment, the clones were burned by the altar's special flames. Before they were burned to ashes, the 2 doppelgangers launched a furious kick into the green light barrier, sending the 2 women flying out from the center of the altar like kicking a rubber ball. Whoosh! The clones were burned to ashes in half a breath's time. The 2 women were shocked. The altar's flames were very special. They could even burn the holy power of a saint. Lin Chen's clone couldn't even last a breath's time. Fortunately, they had rescued the 2 women. Chapter 942. The little fairy wanted all the techniques in the treasury. Rank 8 sacred ores, 1 for each person. In terms of weapons, Lin Shun only took the saber Moon Cutter and the sword Destiny, 2 peak rank 7 weapons. Due to the high value of the odd crystal fragments, Lin Shun compensated the little fairy with 40 bottles of clear jade due before she let him go. Fortunately, the clear jade tree produced enough clear jade dew, otherwise there would be not a single drop. Just as the 2 were about to leave, Lin Chen's eyes suddenly narrowed. At the end of the cave, there was a strong, blood-red attribute light. There are high attribute values over there. Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately rushed over. The little fairy looked forward to it and followed Lin Chen closely. In the underground world below the palace, Tautai, Holy Beast, and the 3 saints were at loggerheads. Tautai grinned sinisterly and said hoarsely, "I don't know this kid. Are you looking for death? Are you deliberately finding trouble with me?" The clone was frightened. "Sister, how can you not recognize us after pulling up your pants? That night, you clearly said that you liked my specialty and even said that you would help me deal with 10 saints." The 3 saints' faces became gloomier, but seeing the anger in Tao Ye's eyes, the 3 saints were puzzled. What was actually going on? This Tao Dai really didn't seem to know Lin Shun. Could it be that Lin Shun was using them to kill each other? But if Lin Shun didn't know Tao Tai Holy Beast, how could he, who was seriously injured, dare to step into the territory of a rank 8 sacred beast? If they let Tao Tai go, what if she and Lin Shun were in cahoots? Tao Tai was more familiar with Dark Island than them, and if she escaped with Lin Shun, even if the 5 saints worked together, it would be extremely difficult to find her. Mystery. It was all a mystery, as if they had fallen into an endless swamp. The 3 saints were hesitant and had doubts about whether they should advance or retreat. This was the effect that Lin Shun wanted. His phantom clone had always been the trump card of his trump cards, and this time, without Ing Tianma's blood seal, he could play with the 4 saints. I don't know you, Doc. Tao Tai smashed the clone with her palm. See, I have nothing to do with this kid. Get lost. Seeing that there were 5 saints on the other side, Tao Tai suppressed her violent temperament. But the 3 saints didn't move. Seems like you still don't intend to admit it. Forget it, ferocious beasts will always be beasts, even if they have cultivated to a level close to ours. Let's beat them until they tell us. The 3 saints' choice was to kill the wrong person. Cicada Saint and Fog Saint were still outside. They did not believe that a heavily injured Lin Shun would be able to escape. Instead, they had to get rid of Tao Tai. Bang! Fierce explosions echoed from outside the palace. Tao Tai squinted his brutal eyes. That direction was his cave. So, you want to touch my treasure? Humans, you're courting death. Roar! Tao Tai, holy beast, Tao Tai roared angrily, releasing gray light that could swallow the wind and clouds. A primordial species was born. Its body was like black iron, its claws like a tiger, its tail like a cow, and its body like a horse. Its limbs were covered in scales, and its whole body was covered in gray light. It looked extremely ferocious, and its mouth was covered with thousands of sword-like teeth. Its body was like a mountain, standing in front of the 3 saints, and its murderous aura was like a dragon's. If it was in the space of the 9 states or other mortal worlds, this primordial holy beast would be more than 200,000 feet in size, and its claws could shatter the earth. It was a genuine primordial species. Clang! The moment Tao Tai, holy beast, Taoye's body appeared, the blue-clothed saint raised his palms, and his saint power surged out as if it had collided with hard metal. He couldn't help but frown. What a hard body! I'll swallow you all. Tao Tai, holy beast, Tao Tai shot out dozens of devouring light beams from its mouth. The 3 saints used many battle techniques, and the 2 sides started to fight. While the battle between the Sage Realm experts was in full swing, Lin Shun discovered a shocking secret in the cave. The skeleton of 1,000 feet tall was engraved with mysterious bone patterns, and it was surrounded by high-level vitality attribute light balls. This is the skeleton of a Tao Tai that was about to break through to rank 8, but it was eaten clean before it died. Not even the beast core was left behind. The little demoness saw through the secret with a single glance and clicked her tongue in wonder. No wonder that Tao Tai woman could become so powerful. A woman's heart is the most poisonous. This one might be her husband, or he might be her relative. But the female swallowed the male, and only then did the female step into the realm of an 8th-level sacred beast. This skeleton couldn't be stored in a storage ring, so the young Tao Tai lady piled it together with many other treasures. Received 3,580 high-level vitality, 2,999 high-level vitality, 5,000 high-level vitality. Lin Shun put away all the high-level vitality attribute light balls and gained a total of 90,000 high-level vitality. The influx of vitality energy forced Lin Shun to use the Dragon Emperor to share the burden. The Dragon Emperor that swallowed the Dragon Prince absorbed another batch of high-level vitality energy, and its pure strength rose to 69 million. The Dragon Emperor's true strength was even stronger than the golden armored dragon guards that the Dragon Prince brought along. Decomposed 11 odd crystal fragments, consumed 44 intermediate heaven path points, elemental attribute gained, 7 high-level fire energy, 8 high-level earth energy, 6 high-level wind energy, obtained special attribute gained, 25 million thousand suns fire. Consumed all special attribute points, 105 intermediate heaven path points, starting to create a high-level blue rank sure kill skill. Lin Chen's thoughts were extremely fast, and the moment he obtained the attribute points, he decomposed and created a sure kill skill. All in one go. Bang! The space barrier outside was severely attacked, and the little fairy smiled at Lin Chun. The saint found this place and is attacking the space barrier. Lin Chun grabbed the little fairy and smiled. Let's go. Host activated super dimensional teleportation, carrying target +1. Consumption doubled. Consumed 4 intermediate talent points. The two of them flashed and disappeared. Rumble. The space barrier shattered, and Cicada Saint stepped into it, his expression changing slightly. Where are they? This old man clearly felt that there were 2 other people here. Swish! The 2 of them returned to the courtyard of the palace, and the little fairy was once again amazed by Lin Chen's mystical means. He was actually able to use space transfer on Dark Island. Hey, if I return this to you now, can you kill all of them? The little fairy took out the war god wristband and shook it. Lin Chen smiled. I should be able to. The little fairy smiled charmingly. I don't believe you. I'll return it to you after you're done with me. Lin Chen. An angry voice was heard, and the middle-aged man stepped on a mist dragon and arrived. When he saw Lin Chen, he immediately pointed his finger, and the mist pierced through Lin Chen. Bang! Miss Saint's finger flattened the entire courtyard, creating a terrifying pit that was hundreds of feet wide. Lin Chen and the little fairy disappeared into thin air. Where did they go? Oh no, was that the original body? Miss Saint's expression changed. He crushed the sage seal in his palm and immediately informed the other 4 sages. Lin Chen used the innate shadow art and had already escaped with the little fairy. This was the reason why Lin Chen had entered Dark Island. On Dark Island, saints could not seal the space and restrict his movements. The innate shadow art was like a fish in water here. Chapter 943. Phantom Doppelgangers Spread Out. Lin Chen activated the level 6 Phantom Rune and ordered all his doppelgangers to use the innate shadow art. After eliminating their auras, they rushed to the 4 corners of the palace. This could greatly disrupt the Sage Stage's vision and avoid a direct confrontation with the Sage Stage. Lin Chen could not replicate the results of the God of War Gauntlet. To be able to severely injure Heavenly Demon and kill the 3 sages in one move, it was largely due to the 3 ultimate skills and the strongest level 6 delaying rune that he had used up all his rune energy. The power of the 2 trump cards had delayed the 4 sages, giving them no chance to retreat. Otherwise, Lin Chen could not control the pain and struggle while wearing the God of War Gauntlet, and the Sage Stage would be enough to kill him. Although Lin Chen had ultimate skills, he only had 100 points of high-grade rune energy. If he did not have the means to delay the sages, even with the God of War Gauntlet, it would be difficult to hit the Sage Stage. Alright, system, can my blank attributes be exchanged for high-grade rune energy? Suddenly, Lin Chen asked the system. He had more than 1 million blank attributes. If he could convert them all into high-grade rune energy, he would not have to be afraid of the 5 sages. Blank attributes and high-grade rune energy are of different levels. If you forcefully convert them, your blank attributes can be converted into 11 points of high-grade rune energy. Would you like to convert them? Lin Chen said. Goodbye. While the Island of Darkness was in chaos, the Mystic Domain and Xuanyu were spreading shocking news one after another, shocking the geniuses of the 2 domains. The Black Horse Club appeared out of nowhere, defeated the Extreme Heaven Pavilion, and killed the Dragon Prince, won the team martial arts competition. All the geniuses in the Black Horse Club are suspected to be Stage 8 alchemists. They have more than 1 orange-grade ultimate skill and have the potential to become a 5th-grade sect. Their deputy director is only around 80,000 on the genius ranking. He dared to challenge the Dark Pavilion's patriarch and was surrounded by 16 sages. Countless pieces of news spread out from the mystic domain to the Xian domain, and even to the other 36 domains. The name of the Black Horse Club shook the genius rankings. In a certain area of the sacred boundary, in a vast expanse of clouds, a beautiful and gorgeous crimson-colored palace stood in the heavens and the earth like an immortal miracle, and it burned with brilliant divine flames. A beautiful woman in a red robe was sitting in the backyard of the god palace. She held the gold roll in her hand and quietly listened to her subordinate's report about the Black Horse Club. Behind the beautiful woman, there were a few handsome and beautiful geniuses on the genius roll, kneeling on one knee. They were all extraordinary geniuses ranked in the top 30,000 of the genius roll. Fight the saints and win the assembly. He destroyed many geniuses on the genius ranking, single-handedly established the Black Horse Club, and all the geniuses are suspected to be quasi-tier 8 alchemists. He killed the dragon race's crown prince. Interesting, the beautiful woman flicked her sleeves and sent her subordinates away. A small head popped out from behind the screen in the courtyard and looked around curiously. The beautiful and exquisite body stretched, showing off her exquisite curves. Her beautiful lips parted, and she smiled like a flower. Little girl, instead of cultivating, you came out to play. The little girl hiding behind the screen stuck out her tongue and skipped to the side of the beautiful woman in the red robe. She asked curiously, "Big sister, did my master come to the sacred boundary? I heard his name just now." The red-robed beauty scratched the little girl's nose with her jade-like finger and said with a smile, "Master, master. How many times have you been calling him master since we came here? Our Divine Flame Palace has so many Saint Realm experts, and all of them are better than that stinking brat. Why do you keep talking about him? Even I am envious." The little girl shook her head and shook her tied ponytails. She muttered, "I don't want them to be my master. The other elders all teach long stories, and they don't teach as happily as master. Those stinky little brothers and sisters bullied me in the name of testing my combat skills. After I beat them up, they all became obedient." The little girl's pink and jade-like face showed a trace of truth. She fiercely clenched her small fists. "Master taught me that if anyone dares to bully me, I will beat them up. That's right." The beautiful woman in the red robe didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This little girl was really bewitched by that brat. You awakened the martial god's bloodline and suddenly joined the Divine Flame Palace, so you occupied a lot of cultivation resources. The brothers and sisters must be dissatisfied. However, the rule of our Divine Flame Palace has always been to only cultivate the strong. You used your strength to conquer them. The beautiful woman in the red robe rubbed the little girl's hair lovingly. The geniuses who were kneeling on one knee beside her were shocked when they heard this. His mind exploded with a bang. Martial god's bloodline? The bloodline of the strongest god's bloodline in the legends? The bloodline of the martial god that was said to be comparable to the Son of God? What kind of godly background did this little girl have? The little girl's big eyes flickered, and her voice was like a mosquito. "That big sister, can I go out and look for master?" "You." The beautiful woman pinched the little girl's white and tender ears. She shook her head and laughed. "Forget it. I'll give you 3 months to go out. However, you must always carry the Divine Flame Star Stone I gave you. If necessary, crush it. I'll rush to your side." "Yay. I knew Big Sister was the best. I can go and look for Master now." The little girl kissed the side of the beautiful woman's face, then happily trotted away. "Oh, right. Remember, if you meet any geniuses who are below the 40,000th rank on the genius ranking, you are not allowed to fight. If you kill them, no one will help you." The geniuses who were kneeling on the ground twitched their mouths. "Get up. Since the information you brought is acceptable, you can go to the Divine Palace to get your reward." The beautiful woman in the red robe flicked her sleeve. The geniuses who were kneeling on the ground were overjoyed. After sending everyone away, the beautiful woman in the red robe gazed into the distance. In the distance, there was an eternal flame like the sun shining on the Divine Flame Palace. The beautiful woman in the red robe muttered to herself, Lin Shun, little fellow, can you catch up? Just based on your current performance, it's far from enough. Your opponents are not the ants on the genius ranking. A few first-grade Saint-grade alchemists can't make up for it. On the island filled with dark fog, there was a glorious and immortal divine palace. The divine palace's appearance was like a phoenix flying with its wings spread out. It had a garden of peach blossoms and many pavilions. The divine palace shone brightly, as if it was the residence of a saint. Is this the Phoenix Palace? Lin Shin stared at the huge object in front of him and clicked his tongue in wonder. After he and the little fairy passed through Tao Tai's palace, they crossed the space barrier and rushed here at full speed. The 5 saints were still circling around the palace, especially when Lin Shin's 5 doppelgangers appeared one by one and escaped. The 5 saints were having a great time catching them. Little did they know that Lin Chin's real body had already arrived on the other side of the Dark Island. I've sensed the location of the treasury. Let's go. The little fairy's charming face was filled with excitement. With a wave of her hand, the 2 thief kings sneaked into the Phoenix Palace. Dark fog filled the air and enveloped the entire sky. A ray of sword light flew straight and appeared in the sky. The young man stepped on his sword and came over. His face was cold and arrogant, and his face was pale. The most handsome thing about the young man in white was his golden eyes. They were like eternal starlight, and his pupils were like 9 stars hanging upside down. They contained the sword steel, sword realm, and sword world. At this moment, he covered the bloodstains on his chest and stepped on his sword into the dark fog. His pair of golden eyes saw through everything as he muttered to himself. The experts of the demon race are indeed quite capable. This seems to be the Dark Island, and it is said that a sacred phoenix lives here. Extract its blood marrow and phoenix feathers to heal my injuries. The young man entered the dark fog. At the end of the dark fog was an island shrouded in darkness. This young man in white was Lin Xingqian, who had destroyed the Star Splendor Palace with 1 sword. At this moment, he was heading straight for the Dark Island. Chapter 944. Inside Phoenix Palace, a handsome man wearing a phoenix sun and moon robe raised his cup and laughed heartily. Ha ha, come, beauties. Let's drink until we're drunk. No one can leave first today. Saint for 10,000 years. His Majesty is mighty. A group of graceful and agile women danced. Their clothes were like gauze, and the snow-white waves were clearly visible. It caused the handsome man to embrace a few beauties and fondle them wantonly. This life is really happy. There's a palace, a group of beauties, and 100 million. It's simple and unadorned. I like it. Someone Lin, who was quietly passing by, clicked his tongue in wonder. He was currently in the state of innate shadow art eliminating aura. The man in the phoenix robe in the palace did not notice him and the little demoness. That handsome man was most likely the owner of this Phoenix Palace, the Grand Flame Sacred Phoenix. You can also run in and join them now. I don't mind. The little demoness wore his god of war bracers and chuckled. It was like the mist in the spring mountains in March. There was a dangerous charm amidst the haziness. Of course, I'm just saying, how can these women be compared to my little demoness big sister? Shameless. Who's yours? You're dreaming. You're dreaming. What? I was just thinking about you, and you actually said I was daydreaming. How can you scold yourself like that? Big sister demoness. A girl must cherish herself. Looks like not only are you daydreaming, you're also itching for a beating. The two of them bickered along the way. In front of an inconspicuous loft in Phoenix Palace, Lin Shin saw an attribute light ball's aurora. What a dazzling light. It seems to be the attribute light of a cultivation technique. Lin Shin licked his lips. Just as he was about to enter with anticipation, the little demoness stopped him. There's a hidden spatial restriction here. Once we trigger it, that big fellow will discover us. The little demoness pointed at a spatial talisman outside the loft. It faintly emitted spatial energy, forming dense spatial threads that enveloped the entire loft. As long as one touched a spatial thread, it would attract the sacred phoenix's attention. Lin Chun released Little Shadow and pointed at the loft. "Little guy, can you handle it?" The fairy also looked at Little Shadow. She nodded, then shook her head. Purple lightning gathered above Little Dark Shadow's head. "You can enter alone. You can't bring anyone with you." The two of them looked at each other. Lin Chun said to Little Shadow, "Then I'll leave it to you. Go in and move the things out one by one. Remember, pick the most valuable things first. If you're done, I'll reward you handsomely." Little Dark Shadow's eyes lit up. He dashed into the void and wandered around the space crystal walls, passing through the thin space threads. The two of them stood outside the pavilion, ready for battle. Not long after, Little Shadow brought out an 8th grade saint or. The little demoness said anxiously, "Little guy, it's not this. First, find the phoenix feather in the box. It's this." She took out the scroll and showed it to Little Shadow. Little Shadow looked at Lin Chun. After Lin Chun nodded seriously, Little Shadow dashed in again. Little Shadow rummaged through the secret room, and among the piles of silver Saint Origin coins and treasures, he finally found 2 green boxes. Inside the boxes was a purplish-red feather. It was very beautiful. Little Shadow's black, cloud-like body formed 2 claws and grabbed it excitedly. Just as he was about to move it, clang, one of the spatial threads broke. Little Dark Shadow was shocked. Only then did he realize that there were 2-dimensional threads connected to the bottom of the green box. If he moved the green box too much, the dimensional threads would break. But he didn't notice it. He miscalculated. Inside the Phoenix Palace, the great flame sacred phoenix, who had transformed into its human form, had a fierce look in its eyes. Its entire body was burning with purplish-red flames. It was no longer drunk and was filled with murderous intent. "How dare a thief sneak into my palace? How dare you touch my phoenix feather? You're courting death." Outside the pavilion, while Lin Chun and the little demoness were still guarding, the little demoness' expression changed. "Oh no, that big guy has been alerted." Rumble. The purplish-red flames turned into a sea of fire and rushed into the clouds. A man with purplish-red wings flew over quickly and said coldly, "Who are you? Come out." The great flame's sacred phoenix raised its hand and tore. Its claws were like hooks with purplish-red flames rolling. It was sharp and hot. It swept out a claw that was hundreds of feet long and attacked outside the pavilion. "Let that little guy hide first. I'll delay this guy. You help me get the thing." The little demoness pushed Lin Chun away and revealed herself. Her slender hands are covered with crimson lotus flames. Her fingertips flicked and tore apart the pavilion's spatial restriction. At the same time, a red lotus flew into the sky and collided with the great flame sacred phoenix's claw. Bang! Rumble. A flaming tornado swept across the sky, and the sacred flames burned high in the sky. The great flame sacred phoenix was shocked and then laughed wildly. "Ha ha! What a delicious and peerless beauty. Since you're here, don't leave. Stay here with me." Lin Chun was dumbfounded. "Saint Realm? This little demoness is also a Saint Realm cultivator? Damn, how can I accept this? It seems that everyone on the island who can fight is a Saint Realm cultivator." Lin Chun's mouth twitched. The little demoness secretly sent a voice transmission. "Go quickly. I may not be able to stop it completely." The spatial restriction had been torn apart by the little demoness, and Lin Chun dashed straight into the treasury. Rumble. The sky outside was dark. The little demoness and the sacred phoenix were fighting. The Hong Yin's sacred phoenix decisively revealed its true form. It transformed into a huge purple phoenix with 3 feathers on its tail. Its entire body was filled with domineering, saintly aura. The moment it appeared, it brought out its true strength, as if it was determined to capture the little demon. Every step she took was like a lotus flower. Her body was slender and graceful, and when she moved, she could dodge the sacred phoenix's attacks every time. Lin Chun barged into the pavilion. At this time, Little Shadow was at a loss and panicked. When it saw Lin Chun enter, it quickly returned to Lin Chun's side. Lin Chun grabbed the two green boxes and rudely tore apart the spatial thread. The sacred phoenix outside turned pale with fright. "There's still a thief?" Rumble. The finger seal suppressed the sky. With a boom, it exploded on the sacred phoenix's back and knocked it down. "Your opponent is me. If you don't want to die, focus on fighting me." The little demoness giggled and stood in front of the sacred phoenix. At this time, the little demoness and the sacred phoenix did not notice that a sword aura was moving across thousands of miles. It was moving at an incredible speed. In the pavilion, Lin Chun took the two immortal phoenix feathers and looked around the pavilion. It was filled with silver Saint Origin coins, 10 pieces of 8th grade ores, and many treasures. Lin Chun opened the peach blossom plant pouch and took it all. If it was an ordinary expert, they would not have the space to store so many treasures. However, Lin Chun's peach blossom plant pouch had a huge space. As for his system space, only the items produced by the system could be placed in the system space. For example, the God of War bracers. Otherwise, other items could not enter the system space. Lin Chun collected many treasures along the way. When he reached the top floor, there was a bright orange attribute light ball. This was a cultivation technique attribute light ball. Lin Chun's heart was filled with excitement as he grabbed the orange attribute light ball. Host has received a cultivation technique attribute light ball. After absorption, you will receive a half-orange movement technique Dragon Flash. Chapter 945. Half-orange grade movement technique. Lin Chun was shocked. His strongest movement technique now was the plus 13 infinite dark steps. With this movement technique complemented with his mental cultivation method and ultimate moment talent, he could unleash the speed of a purple grade movement technique. But a half-orange grade movement technique was completely different. A purple grade movement technique and a half-orange grade movement technique were two different concepts. Moreover, in Lin Chun's hands, if the half-orange grade movement technique was strengthened with his mental cultivation method and ultimate moment talent, it would be infinitely close to an orange grade movement technique. The only regret was that the charging rune could only be used on offensive techniques. Otherwise, Lin Chun would definitely be able to unleash the power of an orange grade movement technique. I have one more life-saving method now. I have to find some time to learn this movement technique. Lin Chun suppressed the ecstasy in his heart and hurriedly left the pavilion. With a flash of movement technique, he rushed out of the pavilion. The next moment, Lin Chun saw the scene outside. Lin Chun was in disbelief as his pupils trembled in fear. The humongous sacred phoenix fell to the ground and collapsed. The blood of the sacred phoenix formed a long river. Its body and blood scattered into purplish-red attribute light balls. That was the brilliance that belonged to the bloodline attribute light balls. Its phoenix flames gradually extinguished. The sacred phoenix race, which was known for its strong vitality, actually died on the spot. Before it died, its eyes were filled with disbelief as it muttered to itself, "Such a domineering sword? Was it the little demoness who killed it? No, it can't be. Who is it?" When Lin Chun saw the remnant sword aura on the sacred phoenix's head, he was shocked. On top of the sacred phoenix's body stood a young man in white. The white-clothed young man pulled with one hand and fiercely pulled out the blood essence of the Hong Yin sacred phoenix, pulling out a 100-meter-long purple-red energy essence condensed from the blood essence. The little demoness had fallen into a cliff. She, who had a beautiful appearance and temperament, was now deathly pale. Her robes were in disarray, as if they had been cut open by many sword slashes. Her jade-like white skin was revealed, covered in bloodstains. Lin Chun, hurry up and take the immortal phoenix feather and leave. Lin Xingchen seemed to have sensed something, and his gaze turned towards Lin Chen's location as he said indifferently, I didn't think that there would be another ant. Lin Chun was shocked. This person could actually see through his innate shadow incantation. He removed the dark calamity battle chi from his body and revealed his true form. At this moment, the two fated gazes of 1,000 cycles of reincarnation locked onto each other. Lin Xingqian stared at the silver-robed youth in the distance, an extremely strange feeling surging in his heart. A few strands of sword chi appeared in his golden pupils, and he was puzzled. To the current him, this young man was extremely weak, but for some reason, he couldn't afford to underestimate them. He didn't have the aura of a weak ant on his body. Instead, there was a kind of aura that faintly threatened him. The young man in white had a strange expression on his face. I'm afraid of this brat. Why would I be afraid of an ant who hasn't even reached the sage realm? What a joke. Lin Xingqian felt that it was absurd, and he laughed coldly. He was a peerless genius of his generation, and he looked down on countless geniuses of the sacred boundary. He didn't even put the entire sacred boundary in his eyes. He was a true, natural-born sovereign, and he shouldered the glory of the God realm's aristocratic families. Someone like him would be afraid of a war emperor? What a joke. Lin Chen's shock wasn't small either. He pulled open his shirt, revealing the 9 star-like birthmarks on his chest. Were they actually flickering with a faint light? These were Lin Chen's birthmarks. When Manager Su of the Divine Martial Sect picked him up, it was on a moonlit night. In the night, Lin Chun was only wrapped in a tattered robe with the word Lin on it. At that time, Lin Chun was an infant, and the 9 birthmarks on his chest flickered with a faint starlight. From then on, Manager Su named him Lin Chun. The word Chun originated from the reaction of the birthmark to the stars. The word Lin originated from the tattered robe on Lin Chen's body. In Lin Chen's memory, these 9 birthmarks would only emit a faint light when facing a full moon or a starry night. They were useless. Lin Chen's bloodline was no different from a mortal's. Today, it actually reacted to the white-clothed youth in front of him. Ant, you walked out of the pavilion. I believe you're here for the immortal phoenix feather. Hand over the immortal phoenix feather, and I'll spare your life. You can scram immediately. Lin Xingqian thought highly of himself. He actually asked Lin Chun to hand over the immortal phoenix feather, and he would spare his life. This was his arrogance to the extreme. He had never put any of the geniuses of the sacred boundary in his eyes. If he killed a war emperor here, it would prove that he didn't have absolute confidence in his own potential and future. It would create a huge obstacle for his state of mind. Would he, Lin Xingqian, be afraid of a war emperor? What a joke. Lin Chun used the silent step and rushed to the cliff. He stood in front of the little demoness and hugged her. The beauty's beautiful face blushed slightly. Lin Chun held the little demoness' slender waist with one hand and smiled faintly. If I hand over the immortal phoenix feather, I don't know if I can take her away. Lin Xingqian sneered. She offended me and will definitely die. Do you think you have a right to negotiate with me? Oh, you're very arrogant. Lin Chin smiled and searched the little vixen's body from head to toe. Hey, what are you doing? Where are you touching? The little demoness scolded coldly. You dare to take advantage of me? Tisk, my Yuechi and Sister Royan are much prettier than you. Don't flatter yourself. I'm taking back my big treasure. Lin Chin searched and found the battle god's wrist guard. He praised in his heart. It feels so good. You're really a demoness. Only Sister Yuechi's figure can compare to you. Even though he was heavily injured, Lin Xingqian still crossed his arms in front of his chest, looking down at Lin Chan with arrogance in his eyes. Aunt, don't tell me you want to resist me. Don't fight with him. You're not his match. The little demoness said anxiously. Lin Chin pulled her to the side. Women shouldn't interfere in men's business. Lin Chin's domineering attitude stunned the little demoness. He could have left if he handed over the immortal phoenix feather. Why did he have to stay here and risk his life? Lin Chin held the battle god's wrist guard and smiled evilly. You look very arrogant. You knew I didn't intend to hand over the immortal phoenix feather, but you didn't stop me. Although the little demoness had used him to steal the immortal phoenix feather, it was a fact that she had saved him. After using the battle god's wrist guard, Lin Shun was like Little Shadow. They were both at the end of their rope. If not for the little demoness, Lin Shun would have become food for the ferocious beasts while he was unconscious. In his bottom line, there was no abandoning his savior. Because you and I are different. You're just an ant on the ground. No one cares about what an ant wants to do. In my eyes, you're all a piece of cake. Lin Xingqian's eyes were so cold that it made one shudder. Lin Chun laughed loudly. Thank you so much. In my eyes, you're the same. It's the same no matter who I face. I don't care about life and death. If you're not convinced, just fight. Lin Xin stuffed a large amount of long qingguo into his mouth. His domineering smile was overflowing with arrogance. The next moment, Lin Shun put on the battle god's wrist guard. Boom! Divine light shone, and golden light floated. Lin Shin's eyes shone with a divine light that illuminated the world. An invincible aura that could dominate thousands of worlds erupted from the battle god's wrist guard. Lin Shin's body was bathed in divine golden light, and he looked like a battle god who had descended to the mortal world. At this moment, Lin Xingqian's expression suddenly became very interesting. An unexpected duel. Lin Chun versus Lin Xingqian. Chapter 946. Boom, boom, boom. 10,000 rays of golden light surged out from Lin Chen's body. His hair danced in the wind, and his silver robe fluttered loudly. He released a dazzling divine light that illuminated the world. His entire body was covered in divine light illusions. He was like an armored god of war, his battle prowess dominating the heavens. Almost instinctively, Lin Xingqian gripped the sword at his waist tightly. Lin Shin's aura had increased by more than 100,000 times in an instant. He had leaped to a whole new level. What is this? Lin Xingqian stared fixedly at the war god's wrist guard on Lin Chen's arm, his expression solemn. So that's how it is. Is this the reason why he threatened me? I didn't feel anything strange about this item just now. Splat. Lin Chen's entire body turned into paste as blood flowed all over his body. He still couldn't control the god of war bracer. Lin Shun was already prepared. He activated the ultimate moment, 7 transformations. He used the ultimate convergence talent repeatedly. With his previous experience, Lin Shun was no longer obsessed with punching. His entire body was covered in blood. He clenched his fists tightly and made a snap motion. A sense of danger enveloped Lin Shun. He was about to move, but Lin Shun seemed to have predicted his reaction. He suddenly shouted coldly, "Damn you, you coward! Weren't you acting cool just now? Why are you running now? Are you a coward? If you have the guts, take my snap." Lin Xingqian's cold and arrogant face was instantly filled with anger. Even though it was such a low-level provocation, it had still stimulated his extremely conceited heart. A mere ant dares to talk back to me? Die. Clang. The divine sword was unsheathed. The sound of the sword reverberated through the heavens and shook the entire island of darkness. What sword is that? The little fairy's eyes trembled. The sword in Lin Xingqian's hand was extremely mysterious. From the hilt of the sword, there were dozens of veins that were connected to Lin Xingqian's arm. It was extremely strange. It was as if the sword was a part of him. It was more like a living thing. That's right, that's how it should be. Cowards can't beat me. Lin Shun grinned, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Countless rays of golden light condensed at the tip of his finger, and he suddenly flicked his finger. A beam of golden radiance shot out explosively, almost instantaneously like a flash of light. Bang! Rip! The peerless divine power that had shattered the falling crystal wall was condensed at a single point. Extreme strength and extreme speed condensed into a streak of golden radiance. Wherever the golden divine radiance passed, it tore apart the spatial crystal walls of the island of darkness, furiously crashing into Lin Xingqian. Lin Xingqian raised his sword and stood upright. His palm pressed against the hilt of the sword as he moved at lightning speed. Breaking dawn. Boom. The wind and clouds gathered to form a speck of starlight. The extreme sword radiance illuminated the dark fog of the entire dark island. The tip of the sword was the sharpest sword radiance. Clang! Bang! The moment when the sharpest point of the sword light collided with the golden radiance that contained hundreds of millions of dragon power points. The entire space in the sky shattered. History converged at this moment. Boom! 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 An indescribable spatial hurricane came crashing down, crushing the entire Phoenix Palace into smithereens. The mountains exploded as if they had exploded. The faint golden radiance and sword aura scattered in the air. It's this power. I wonder if the power he used to instantly kill the 3 saints that day is effective against this monster. Little Fairy's mind was extremely tense. This youth was a real monster. He killed the sacred phoenix with 1 strike and defeated her with 2 strikes. Among the monsters she had encountered, there was no monster with such heaven-defying power. What was even more terrifying was that this person seemed to be heavily injured. Finally, blood trickled from the corner of Lin Xingqian's mouth. With the addition of new injuries, he finally couldn't hold on any longer. Because of Lin Xingqian's injuries, more than 10 extremely high-quality attribute light balls rolled down from the sky. At this moment, Lin Chen wasn't much better than Lin Xingqian. His body continued to crumble as blood spurted out. He was on the verge of death. Lin Chen didn't hesitate at all. He gritted his teeth and gathered strength with great difficulty for the second flick of his finger. Not good. Lin Xingqian was shocked. Dying. Lin Chen roared and gathered strength for another flick of his finger. The second ray of golden light shot into the sky. Rip! The golden light tore through the void. The stronger the power, the faster the speed. Lin Xingqian didn't have time to dodge at all. He raised his sword, which flowed with vast starlight and contained the sun and moon, and slashed apart half of the sword rainbow. Bang! The golden light, which was condensed from pure strength, smashed apart the remnant light in the sky. The entire Phoenix Palace's foundation was shaken until it cracked inch by inch. The earth-shaking wind rushed into the clouds and dispersed the endless dark fog that shrouded Dark Island, allowing the moonlight to shine down from the outside. A dazzling 5-colored supreme treasure chest appeared. It was another 5-colored supreme treasure chest. Whoosh! The starlight shuttled, carrying the sacred phoenix's blood marrow and escaping through the void. Brat, I'll remember you. How dare you injure me? Lin Xingqian, I'll make you pay for this blood debt in the future. Just as he finished speaking, the starlight had already disappeared. Lin Chen knelt on one knee and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. His 7 orifices were bleeding, and the bones in his body were cracking. Little Fairy hurriedly supported him and quickly removed the Aries wristband. She said anxiously, Lin Chen, are you all right? Don't scare me. Lin Chen glanced at Little Fairy and didn't even have the strength to speak. The light in his eyes gradually dimmed. Damn it, I didn't expect that I would die here. Lin Chen sighed in his heart. He used the second flick of the Aries wristband, causing his body to shatter from the explosive power. Even his heart and Battle Chi Fate Wheel were showing signs of shattering. There was nothing he could do, but if he didn't use it a second time, he wouldn't be able to defeat such a strong enemy. He just said that his name is Lin Xingqian. Just like me, his surname is Lin. My strange birthmark also reacted to him. Could it be that he is related to my background? It's a pity that I'm going to die here. My background doesn't matter anymore. Damn it, his entire body has been destroyed by that power. What should I do? Little Fairy was burning with anxiety. Suddenly, she had an idea. She said excitedly, Lin Chen, don't die yet. Where did you put the immortal phoenix feather that you stole? It can still save your life. Lin Chen didn't have the strength to speak. When his body shattered, Little Shadow hurriedly took out the 2 green boxes from the peach blossom plant pouch. Little Fairy was delighted. She immediately opened the green light and placed one of the immortal phoenix feather on Lin Chen's chest. She activated a trace of battle chi, and the immortal phoenix feather burned. Lin Chun was bathed in the flames of the phoenix feather. However, before the little demoness could rejoice, her expression changed again. Damn it, his life force is still collapsing. The immortal phoenix feather's recovery ability can't keep up with the speed of his collapse. He has entered a state of death. Little Fairy's heart was filled with regret. She didn't expect that Lin Chun would die because of her. She had always been bold, but she didn't expect that she would cause the death of such a young talent. A seemingly miraculous power was about to erupt from Lin Chun's body. At this time, the flames of the immortal phoenix feather burned Lin Chun. Although it couldn't save him, it sucked in all the purple-red elemental balls around the sacred phoenix feather. "Oh, Lin Chun, don't die," Little Fairy cried for the first time in her life. "You could have run away just now. Why did you turn back? Wouldn't you have been able to leave if you had handed over the immortal phoenix feather? You're so stupid. If you had kissed me again, I might have come back to life this time." Lin Chun's voice sounded. Little Fairy wiped her tears and said, "If I had kissed you again, would you have come back to life?" Chapter 947. In the south of Dark Island, the five sages and the Taodai were fighting. Then, the Qin family's sword sage, Qin Jintian, and Lien Wanjin had infiltrated. Bang! Bang! Two earth-shattering sounds reverberated in the sky, attracting Lien Wanjin and Qin Jintian's attention. "What's that sound? It's coming from inside Dark Island. Something's not right." Even a second stage sage might not be able to create such a terrifying commotion in Dark Island. The situation has changed. Let's go inside Dark Island to take a look. The two sages focused their eyes and rushed into the depths of Dark Island. "Stupid Lin Chun, you dare to lie to me?" The little demoness raised her hand and wanted to slap Lin Chun, but he immediately said weakly, Hey, I'm a wounded person. If you hit me, what if you kill me again?" The little fairy then realized that Lin Chun was bathing in the flames of the immortal phoenix feather, and there was also a wisp of purple flames. What? What is this? The little fairy was bewildered. She had just confirmed that Lin Chun's injuries were too serious. Even the immortal phoenix feather couldn't save him. "Looks like I have another opportunity." A beam of red light spread out from Lin Chun's back, and the phoenix wings that were surrounded by a faint red light began to evolve. Lin Chun opened the system screen. As expected, after he absorbed the Great Flame Sacred Phoenix's attribute light ball, the system kept popping up screens. Host has received 120,000 Great Flame True Phoenix Bloodline points. 100,000 Great Flame True Phoenix Bloodline points. Because the host is in a special state of burning the immortal phoenix feather to repair the body, the Great Flame True Phoenix Bloodline and the True Flame Purple Phoenix Bloodline have merged. His True Flame Purple Phoenix Bloodline had merged with the Great Flame True Phoenix Bloodline. Under normal circumstances, the True Flame Purple Phoenix Bloodline was inferior to the Great Flame True Phoenix Bloodline. The former's growth limit was a beginner stage 8 Sacred Beast, and it was rare. The Great Flame True Phoenix Bloodline's growth limit was peak stage 8. Its ancestor was the divine beast Taisher Flame Phoenix. Although they had the same ancestor, they had different branches. But Lin Chun's body was in a state of collapse, and with the burning of the immortal phoenix feather as an opportunity, he merged the Great Flame True Phoenix's bloodline with the True Flame Purple Phoenix's bloodline. The rebirth of the twin phoenixes had pulled Lin Chun back from the gates of hell. Mother asterisk her. Using this war God bracer before reaching the Saint Realm is suicide. The second flick of the finger shattered my life force. This time, I have the immortal phoenix feather and bloodline fusion. Next time, I won't be so lucky. Bloodline fusion and immortal phoenix feather were constantly healing Lin Chun's wounds. When he was unable to move, he discovered that the white-robed youth had dropped a 5-light supreme treasure chest. As for the attribute light ball, it was absorbed by the god of war Gauntlet. Every time Lin Chun looked at it, his heart would be stimulated. The attribute ball of light no longer belonged to him, Lin Chun. In the future, if there was no need, he really couldn't take out the Ares bracers. Lin Shun summoned the Dragon Emperor and put away the 5-light Supreme treasure chest. When the system screen popped up, his expression gradually became sluggish. His mouth was wide open, and his face was full of disbelief. "Why is your mouth so wide open? If we don't leave now, those saints will find us." The little fairy curled her lips in annoyance. Clearly, she still held a grudge against Lin Shun for making fun of her just now. Lin Shun ignored her. His eyes were glued to the system screen. Host has opened the 5-light Supreme treasure chest. Orange tier passive talent fragment. Supreme God Possession, 1/4. Orange tier passive talent. Supreme God Possession. Without any consumption, without any conditions, the power of the host's orange tier combat skills will be greatly increased. Applicable to combat skills, not applicable to special cultivation methods and mental cultivation methods. Range of increase, unknown. Please collect the missing talent fragment to learn all the information about the passive talent. Orange tier passive talent fragment. Lin Shin's mouth trembled. The supreme treasure chest dropped by Lin Xingchen actually gave him an orange tier passive talent fragment. He didn't even dare to think about this in the past. If this talent can be stacked with a recharge rune, I wonder how much the increase will be. Lin Shin didn't have time to think. The little fairy immediately pulled him away and said to him, "Some saints have already passed by the Tao Ye's territory. We should go." Lin Shin was stunned. Go? Go where? Out of the Great Flame, Sacred Phoenix's territory, of course. As long as we reach the southern region, these guys won't be able to catch up with us. The little fairy took the remaining immortal phoenix feather and returned the Ares bracer to Lin Shun. She carried him and flew quickly. She knew the Dark Island like the back of her hand. Along the way, the little fairy spat out blood again. Blood stained her robe, poignant and enchanting. She was hit twice by Lin Xingchen's sword. The sword aura invaded her body and caused great damage. Just relying on the silver and gold Saint origin coins, as well as the 7 long Qingwo that Lin Xin gave her, was still not enough. It wasn't easy for a divine body to recover unless Lin Shun gave her all the long Qingwo produced by the long Qing Shu. However, this would delay Lin Chen's plans. He had another choice. Eat it. Lin Shun, who was bathed in the flames of the immortal phoenix feather, took out a sealed jade bottle. Even the little fairy couldn't help but be moved by the pills in the bottle. A first-grade divine pill. Why do you have this? This was an 8th-grade divine pill. Even with her status, it was difficult for her to enjoy it. Lin Shin was just a genius on the genius roll. How could he have an 8th-grade divine pill? Don't think that I have nothing but my handsomeness. I have a few 8th-grade alchemists working for me. Lin Shin grinned. The little fairy stuck out her tongue and said, "Don't blush when you brag." The little fairy looked deeply at Lin Shun. She wasn't a pretentious person. She took the divine pill and swallowed it. Whoosh! Her divine body glowed with nourishment. Her wounds healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The meridians and saint origin energy that were torn by the sword aura were quickly repaired. The power of a divine pill was extraordinary. If Lin Shun consumed it, his body wouldn't be able to withstand such a huge amount of energy. Lin Shun gave her such a precious pill, proving his trust in her. Their trust in each other increased exponentially. As the little demoness supported Lin Shun, she stuffed something into his arms. "Here, this is my Purple Cloud token. If you have time, you can come to the Purple Cloud King Valley in the southern region to find me. My name is enough to let you live a good life in the Purple Cloud King Valley." Lin Shin smiled and said, "So awesome. Then I'll go in 2 days. I want to find the prettiest girl there to accompany me for a few nights. TSK, the prettiest girl in the Purple Cloud King Valley is me. Then you'll come. Dream on. No way." In 2 hours, the energy of the sacred elixir allowed the little fairy to recover while she hurried on with Lin Shun. The two of them arrived at the end of the sacred phoenix's territory. The dark fog dissipated slightly. This was the route that Lin Xingchen took to kill his way into the Dark Island. Lin Shun, who was still bathing in the flames of the immortal phoenix feather, suddenly asked the little fairy, "Oh right, there are so many forces in the sacred boundary. Which force is in control of the sacred prison? Is there a way to enter?" After Lin Shun arrived at the sacred boundary, the most powerful person he had come into contact with was the little fairy in front of him. Maybe he could get some information about the sacred prison from her. Lin Shun couldn't forget the orange rank heart sutra, Tai heaven concealing technique. The little fairy was surprised. "Why are you asking this? Do you want to go in?" Lin Shun scratched his head. "I have a friend who doesn't want to work. He was caught stealing a car. I want to find a chance to visit him." The little fairy, ? Chapter 948. The holy prison doesn't belong to any force. To be precise, it belongs to the gods. The fairy's words were shocking. The holy prison specializes in imprisoning the most vicious criminals in the sacred boundary, but the gods are rarely seen. Throughout the year, there is a holy prison tribunal that replaces the gods. Their existence is the most independent existence in the sacred boundary. Lin Chen's expression was solemn. "I heard that there was a prison break in the holy prison. What happened?" The fairy shook her head. "That was an exception. Other than that, no one in the history of the holy prison was able to escape. It is said that the female demon appeared in the holy prison out of thin air. It seems that even the holy prison tribunal did not know where she came from. She killed her way from the 19th level to the 1st level by herself, releasing countless criminals. It's said that she even took away some hidden experts. Even my master's expression changed when he talked about this matter. I only vaguely remember that my master once revealed that the female demon had fought with the gods of the holy world. As for who won or lost, I don't know. Is that so?" Lin Shun pretended not to change his expression, but his heart trembled a few times. Damn, that black-clothed woman had fought with a true god? To be able to break into the holy prison alone and force the gods out, then she was very likely to be a god? I've been targeted by a god? Damn, what kind of luck is this? Lin Shin broke out in cold sweat. He thought that after cultivating to the saint realm, he could at least contend with that mysterious woman. Now, it seemed that the saint realm was not enough. The little fairy gave Lin Chun a stern look. "If you really have any acquaintances who have been captured and sent to the holy prison, I advise you to stop thinking about it. That is an eternal hell, and no one can come out. Similar upheavals like before have already made the holy prison even more heavily guarded. The only way to enter is to be captured and sent in. I'm just asking. Don't worry, I'm not someone who likes to court death." Lin Shin smiled. The little demoness rolled her eyes at him charmingly. "Who knows? Some people look weak, but when they fight, they don't care about life and death. If they don't accept it, they'll fight." Lin Shun had to go to the holy prison. The 9 great demonic eyes of the 9 prefectures still needed the 9 karma nail, unique to the holy prison, to suppress them. Otherwise, the 9 prefectures would definitely be plunged into chaos 100 years later. The Tai Futian scripture would determine Lin Chen's future. An orange tier mental cultivation method would be his most powerful asset when fighting against many powerful warriors. Maybe I can find that mysterious woman. Back then, she entered the holy prison all by herself. Maybe she has some special method to enter. Lin Shin looked at the faintly discernible devil seal on his palm and smiled bitterly in his heart. Boom! Space shook for a moment, and Lin Shin's bloodline was suddenly reborn. The host's True Flame Purple Phoenix bloodline has fused with the True Flame Phoenix bloodline. Bloodline energy value, 47. 5 million points. Bloodline fusion complete. My Phoenix wings have also evolved. My and the Dragon Emperor's battle power has also increased. In terms of speed, there shouldn't be many who are faster than me at the same level. Lin Shun put away his purple phoenix wings and arrived at the end of Dark Island with the little demoness. A ray of sunlight pierced through the surface of the sea. This place was surrounded by the sea, and the sea was vast. The dark island behind them was covered in a dark fog. I still have important things to do. Take this with you. I will be able to sense your location within a certain distance. The little demoness handed him a jade scroll. Lin Shan accepted it, and the little demoness said with a smile, "You are my type. I, the little demon empress, will make you my friend. I will protect you from now on." Lin Shan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. All right, The little demoness was also his type. As the little demoness stepped into the air and left, she smiled sweetly at Lin Shan. Waving her hand, she said, "Lin Shan, you'd better not die. I'll be waiting for you on the Demon Geniuses leaderboard. Otherwise, the next time we fight, it'll be boring." Lin Shan shook his head and laughed. He walked out of Dark Island and flew into the air. He opened the peach blossom pouch and released the two sisters. "Prince Lin Shan, are you all right?" Qi Miao immediately sized up Lin Shan. "I'm fine, we escaped. However, the crisis has not been resolved, and the Sage Realm experts chasing after me have not stopped, so we have to hurry." Lin Shan smiled. Qin Jian's heart trembled as she asked in surprise, "The Sage Realm experts chasing after you? Let's talk as we walk." Lin Shan brought the two sisters and briefly explained the situation of Dark Island. The two girls were both shocked and afraid. Lin Shan had actually provoked a large group of Sage Realm experts. However, if not for this, they would not have been saved. If not for Lin Shan, the two sisters would have been buried in the mouth of Tao Tai. However, Lin Shan had gained a lot from this trip to Dark Island. The little demoness had given Lin Shan the treasure vault of the Great Flame, True Phoenix, causing his foundation to become even more abundant. However, the most important thing was the information he had encountered and learned. The War God Bracer was still full of doubts. However, this item was definitely Lin Shan's final trump card. Not to mention a punch, Lin Shan could only use it once to flick his finger. 2 times would definitely kill him. Lin Xingchen? Just who was this person? His birthmark actually had a weak reaction to this person. What was even more terrifying was that this person's strength was simply heaven-defying. His life force was as young as the geniuses on the genius ranking, but the geniuses on the genius ranking were not even worthy of carrying his shoes. The Great Flame Sacred Phoenix, which had an extremely strong vitality, was killed by him with a single slash. The mysterious little demoness was defeated by him with 2 slashes. At that time, Lin Xingchen seemed to have been heavily injured. If he had not been so conceited and taken the War God Bracer head-on, he would have died without a doubt. It's really difficult to solve this mystery. I'm still too weak. If I had the strength of a saint, I would have just killed these guys directly. There wouldn't be so much trouble. Lin Shan collected his thoughts and maintained the innate shadow art as he flew, suppressing his aura. This was the southern region. There were many seas and islands. Lin Shan wore the Thousand Illusion mask and transformed into the Jundak Shui. The 2 girls were shocked. He could actually perfectly disguise himself as the Jundak Shui from the Black Horse Club. He carefully disguised the 2 girls. As long as they found the territory of a rank 4 faction, they would usually be able to find a large spatial passage that could teleport them back to Xuanyu or the Mystic Realm. Lin Shan also solemnly instructed the 2 girls to immediately leave him, if necessary, and return to the Mystic Realm. Little Fairy was able to leave Dark Island so quickly because she had the map of Dark Island. She entered Dark Island after passing by the Mystic Realm. As for the Saints, Lin Shan was not sure when they would rush out from the other side of Dark Island. The 3 of them flew for half a day and landed in the territory of a rank 4 holy nation, Fu Saint Nation. Holy empires were the ancient empires of the Holy World. Establishing a nation within the sacred boundary was like establishing a sect. It required a saint realm cultivator and a plan of fortune. Holy nations were not divided into ranks. Ancient nations without a saint realm cultivator had already been destroyed in history. On a small island at the edge of Blue Flower Island, there was a pavilion built nearby. A group of elderly and children lined up to receive medicinal pills, cultivation resources, or to express their gratitude, forming a long line. "Everyone, don't worry. There will be pills. This epidemic will be controlled." In front of the long line was a clinic. There was only one white-clothed girl sitting there. She was elegant and ethereal, and her slender figure was like a willow branch. She was wearing a cloak, so her face was hidden. She was handing out pills and herbs to the elders and children in the line. Splat! Water splashed everywhere. A group of Yuan venerate youths returned and laughed excitedly. "Grandpa, we hunted a desolate sea fish." Eating the bones of the desolate sea fish will stabilize the epidemic in everyone's bodies. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, the surface of the sea was stirred up. A ferocious giant creature with countless barbs on its head appeared and said in human language, "I can eat to my heart's content again. Ga, Ga, Ga." The youths were shocked. It was a rank 7 saber-toothed dragonfish. It had followed them all the way. The saber-toothed dragonfish pounced on the group of youths. The speed of a Yuan venerate was far inferior to that of a rank 7 beast. Whoosh! The white-clothed girl turned into a shadow. She waved her slender hand and set up a battle aura barrier to block the dragonfish's bite. She hurriedly pushed the group away and shouted, "Go to the Imperial Guard commander in the city and help him. Everyone, leave this place quickly." The youths gritted their teeth and used their movement techniques to escape. The group of elders and women were horrified. "Princess now. Run. Princess is in danger. Come back quickly." This dragonfish's strength exceeded 9 million dragon power points. The white-clothed girl could not block it for long before her battle aura barrier was torn apart. The white-clothed girl's delicate body trembled slightly. The dragonfish bit down, and a fierce and violent blood-chi hurricane tore the girl's cloak apart, revealing her true appearance. Chapter 949. Boom! The saber-toothed dragonfish stopped in its tracks and couldn't move forward anymore. When the dark calamity battle aura dissipated, a silver-robed lady appeared in front of her. "Are you all right?" the young man asked without turning around. The lady replied, "Yes, be careful, young master." As soon as she finished speaking, rip, the young man's fingertips flashed, and the dragonfish was cut into two. Its blood and chi were crushed, and its flesh and blood were separated. The saber-toothed dragonfish died with its eyes wide open and slowly fell to the shore. The person who attacked was Lin Shun. He happened to pass by and saw this scene, so he saved it. "All right, it's fine now. I've also taken care of this fellow's companions in the sea." When Lin Shun turned around, the lady suddenly panicked. "No, young master, don't look at me." When Lin Shen's gaze landed on the lady's face, he was suddenly stunned. The lady's temperament and figure were quite extraordinary, but her face was extremely ugly. No, it couldn't be described as ugly. Perhaps it should be said that it was extremely disgusting in terms of appearance. If a person was ugly, it meant that they still had a human face. However, the lady in white in front of him didn't look like a human face anymore. Her facial bones were distorted, and one of her eyeballs was big and the other was small. Her mouth was almost invisible, and there were hook-shaped flesh in front of her nose. Her cheeks were stuck to pieces of purplish-green flesh. It was extremely strange. "No, don't look." The lady quickly put on a second cloak and covered her face as she cried. She was most afraid of others seeing her true face. This was her nightmare since she could remember. "If he sees my face, he will definitely despise me. I don't want to hear those voices anymore." The lady instantly recalled the painful memories of her childhood. Countless insults and mockery. She was once called the descendant of the devil, and so on, so beautiful. The young man praised from the bottom of his heart, and the lady was stunned. "Young master, are you mocking me?" The lady was so angry that her whole body trembled. She mistook Lin Chen's exclamation as mocking her. "No, you misunderstood." Lin Chen shook his head and pointed at the crowd running behind her. "The people behind you are crying. You can imagine how important you are to them. Your words and actions are elegant and proper. You're not an ordinary person. You must be of noble birth, but you care about the lives of the common people. Some of them ran towards you just now. They didn't care about their own lives. Lin Chen smiled. It's true that people judge a book by its cover, but that doesn't stop me from seeing your beautiful heart. His smile made the woman feel as if she was bathed in a spring breeze, and she was slightly stunned. Whoa, princess, you scared us to death just now. A group of old and young people surrounded the princess to protect her, crying. She hurriedly comforted everyone. When she turned back, the young man had already disappeared into the crowd. Fu Saint Nation, Imperial Palace. Imperial Father, how can you hold a selection without permission? Your daughter has already decided to find my own husband. Look for it myself? With your temper, which man would dare to get close to you? Look at your age, and you're still not married. You fight and kill like a man every day. Look at what you're wearing. What a scandal. I've already issued an imperial edict. It's useless for you to be stubborn. In the imperial palace, a middle-aged man dressed in a holy dragon robe criticized his daughter with resentment. She wore a red helmet and looked awe-inspiring. Her long hair was tied up, and she had beautiful eyebrows. Her snow-white face was cold and elegant, and her figure was slender. The most conspicuous thing was her pair of round and full legs. She was nearly 9 meters tall. If she wasn't dressed in red, she would definitely be an outstanding beauty. I don't care. In any case, I won't find a man who's weaker than me. Right now, not many of these men can fight. They're all soft-footed shrimps. Go ahead and choose. When the time comes, I'll beat them all down. The beauty coldly snorted and turned to leave. The middle-aged man was very angry. He was about to fly into a rage when the old servant beside him hurriedly stopped him. Your Majesty, don't be angry. It's not like you don't know the 6th princess temper. This girl is taking advantage of my face. I've spoiled her too much. Sigh. Before Consort Lin passed away, I had hoped that they could be ordinary women. In the end, my 4th son died early, and my 5th son left home. My 6th son became like this, and my 7th son is even more. When the man in the holy robe talked about Chen, he bitterly and dejectedly said, I'm a failure of a father emperor. The 7th princess of Fusheng country was a princess who caused the entire country to tremble at the mention of her name. She was once the twin sister of the 6th princess. Your Majesty, there's no need to blame yourself. The 7th princess situation was truly an accident. Even 2 level 8 alchemists were unable to reverse the poison curse of the Shang realm. Your Majesty has already done his best. The old servant bowed and reported. The man in the dragon robe sat back on the dragon throne and murmured, These few years, I've also asked less about Chier. After a while, I'll go and visit her. Your Majesty, this old servant has another question. Speak. Although the imperial edict for selecting a son-in-law has been issued, with the temper of the 6th princess, she must at least find a man whose strength is above the 6th princess. However, the 6th princess was already ranked 63511 in the genius rankings 5 years ago, not to mention now. With the princess's strength, not many people can control her. The man in the dragon robe smiled and said, I've already predicted that in a few days it will be my 100,000th birthday. I've already sent out a notice to the various countries, inviting the experts of the various sects and factions to a banquet. I've even asked them to bring their own disciples along. I'm afraid that they've already arrived on the island or are on their way there. The old servant bowed and said, Your Majesty is wise. Send out the imperial edict and bring out all the dowry. Some prodigies won't act unless they see a rabbit. If we attract all of them here, it's time for this girl to get married. Lin Xun and the 2 sisters arrived at the Fusheng island of Fusheng ancient country. The city on the island was very big. Today, the citizens were very excited, and good news was posted everywhere on the streets. Lin Xun was very curious. After paying the entrance fee, before he could ask anything, a few young girls rushed up to Lin Xun and stared curiously at him. Big brother, are you also here to participate in the selection? That's right. Big brother is so handsome. Are you also here because the 6th princess is looking for a husband? Seeing this, Lin Xun couldn't help but sigh. The country was really prosperous, and the people were at peace. If the people were poor, why would they pay attention to these things? This proved that the ruler of the Holy Empire was someone who loved the people. Although Big Brother is handsome, I'm a person with principles. First, I won't be a son-in-law. Second, I won't be a thief. Third, I won't rob you. A certain Lynn's smile was like a blooming rose. Before the girls could react, someone in the crowd shouted, "Brother Lynn, the sixth princess's dowry is being displayed in the Imperial City Plaza. Everyone, quickly go and take a look." The young girls were very happy. They pulled Lin Shun and ran. "Yay! Big Brother, come with us to see the princess's dowry." The sisters followed them curiously. "These little rascals." Lin Shun shook his head and laughed. 15 minutes later, the Imperial City Plaza was filled with a sea of people. It was very lively. The mountains of treasures and silver St. Origin coins were piled up, dazzling countless people. Peak rank 7 weapons, peak purple tier cultivation techniques, pill recipes, odd crystal fragments, the sixth princess's dowry. Everything was there. Lin Chen's eyes trembled. He saw the dazzling 5-colored attribute treasure chests among the dowry. Chapter 950. The Imperial Edict has arrived. By the will of the heavens, the Emperor decrees that those who pass the examination and become the Emperor's son-in-law will be conferred the title of a first-rank official and enjoy a high salary. The dowry will belong to the Emperor's son-in-law, and he can enter the palace to choose a half-orange grade technique. Geniuses from all over the sacred boundary are welcome to participate. Those on the genius ranking will be exempted from the preliminary round and will advance to the selection round. There will be many generous rewards. A eunuch announced the Imperial Edict, causing an uproar. He could even choose a half-orange grade technique. This was an irresistible reward for any genius. I didn't expect such a generous reward. Looks like I'll have to give it a try. Interesting. Looks like the sacred lord of this country is going all out. I can't keep a low profile anymore. There's even the rare, heavenly, one holy water. Good guy. Some of the geniuses on the genius ranking hidden in the crowd began to move. The eunuch who announced the Imperial Edict smirked. This was the effect they wanted. Sure enough, by showing the dowry, the geniuses on the genius ranking would be tempted to participate. Jundak Shui Lin Mao, who was standing in the crowd, was dumbfounded. He was not shocked by the half-orange grade technique, nor was he shocked by the richness of the dowry. It was because there was a 5-light supreme treasure chest and 3 orange crystal treasure chests floating in the middle of the dowry. What the F***CK? It was a 5-light supreme treasure chest. F***CK. There's a spatial barrier set up by the saint inside the dowry. I can't get close to it. I'll have to use the Ares bracer if I want to. I don't want to be half dead again. Lin Chin stared at the 5-light supreme treasure chest a few miles away from him. He was very tempted. What kind of treasures had he gotten from the 5-light supreme treasure chest so far? Plant of Providence seeds. Orange grade talent fragments. None of them were inferior. How could he miss out on this 5-light supreme treasure chest? Looks like I can only participate in the selection. I'll take the dowry and then leave. I can't keep a low profile anymore. Lin Shun walked to the registration pavilion at the side and walked to the counter. He took out the Black Horse Club's SEC token and slammed it on the table. Number 85880 on the Genius ranking, Black Horse Club, Jundak Shui, registering for the election. As soon as he said this, many people in the hall looked at him in surprise. Someone had actually started registering for the Genius rankings so soon. The disguised Qin Miao stared blankly at Lin Chen's back, her eyes dimming. Qin Jian coldly snorted. This Lin Chen really doesn't know what's good for him. Jian, you can't say that about Prince Lin Chen. Maybe he and the sixth princess are in love. Love my ass. He's just a playboy who loves every woman he sees. Julian, we have no right to interfere with Prince Lin Chen's decision, not to mention that he is our savior. Yes, he's really fast. Number 85,880. Although it's far from the 6 princesses ranking, it's still not bad. The registration officer at the counter was secretly delighted and immediately noted down Lin Chen's name. The little girls looked at Lin Chen's back with their mouths slightly agape. Didn't Big Brother say that he was a man of principles? A little girl in green wrinkled her nose and snorted, "A man's mouth is a liar." Mother was right. The more handsome a man is, the more likely he is to lie. He smells so good. In the Red Moon Palace, the 6th princess frowned as she rummaged through the drawers and jade cabinets in her room. Father doesn't care about me at all. I'm not afraid of those people who came to participate in the selection, but just in case, I have to take out the imperial edict from before. Although I've let 7th sister down, I definitely won't marry a stranger. Finally, the 6th princess found a slightly old imperial edict after rummaging through it. Holding the imperial edict, the 6th princess's expression became much calmer. Outside the square, the registration was in full swing. Many geniuses with extraordinary backgrounds came out to register, causing many people to be stunned. The geniuses on the genius ranking did not need to participate in the preliminaries and could be directly summoned to the palace. In the palace, Lin Chun and the rest were arranged to rest. The selection would be held the next day. This time, even the emperor would personally come and check on them. Although my cultivation has increased by quite a bit, there's still a time limit to using saint weapons. In order to avoid these problems, as long as I don't meet an opponent who requires my full strength, a peak tier 7 weapon is enough for me to deal with many situations. Lin Chun tapped on the fusion function and ordered, "System, fuse the +13 Dragon Glory and Moon Cutter and the +13 Meridian Sword and Cyan Destiny Sword." Consumed 1 middle grade Heaven's Path points. Fusion successful. Host receives +12 Cyan Destiny Sword and +11 Moon Cutter. When a +13 low-grade weapon is fused with a high-grade weapon, it can inherit a +10 to +12 enhancement level. With 2 peak tier 7 weapons in hand, Lin Chun had 2 more weapons that he could use. The prerequisite for inheriting an enhancement level through fusion was that the 2 weapons were of the same grade. For example, if a tier 8 weapon was fused with a +13 tier 7 Dragon Glory, it would be impossible to create a +10 weapon. As long as I step into the Saint realm, I can immediately restore the embryonic form of my Saint Spear and 2 incomplete tier 8 weapons to their peak state. It was not that Lin Chun did not have the ability to restore the Atlas Sword and Azure Moon to their peak state, but after they were fully restored, even if he dripped his blood on them, he would not be able to control the power of the 2 weapons. Even using them would be a problem. If he could not control the power, it would be useless no matter how powerful it was. Only when he stepped into the Saint realm would he be able to unleash the full power of the weapons. Consumed 16 high-grade cultivation technique soul essence. Fused with half-orange grade movement technique Dragon Flash. Lin Chun fused with all his clones at the same time at lightning speed. The next day, the selection of the Holy Son-in-Law officially began. The palace was bustling with activity. In the courtyard of the front palace, seats were built in the air. They were specially prepared for the experts who were participating in the selection of the Holy Son-in-Law. There were no empty seats outside the palace. Many officials, island masters, generals, and high-ranking officials were seated. 10 arenas were set up in the air. Each of them was dozens of acres. They could be clearly seen outside the palace. Those who had reached the Heaven Star realm could watch the battle completely by activating their battle chi. All the distinguished guests and participating geniuses entered the venue and sat in the seats in the air. Lin Chun and the 2 sisters sat quietly at the last row of seats, looking around the room. There is no lack of powerful geniuses in this election. Some of them were ranked 70,000 or even 60,000 on the genius ranking. They were even stronger than the pavilion master of the Extreme Sky Pavilion, Qin Xiaotian, whom Lin Chun had met before. TSK, TSK, TSK. It seems like I have to show some of my true abilities if I want to win this competition. Lin Chun was amazed. However, he was no longer the same as he was in the past. When he was fighting against the Dragon Crown Prince, who was ranked 60,000 plus on the genius ranking, he still had to give it his all. However, he was now a second tribulation combat emperor. His cultivation was not much weaker than these top geniuses. The monarch of Fu Sheng country followed closely behind, bringing his own subordinates with him as they slowly walked out. The king walked with majestic steps. His body emitted a golden holy light that shone brightly. His eyes were filled with a domineering aura that made all living beings submit to him. His dragon aura was domineering. He sat on the dragon throne and laughed. "Welcome, everyone. My daughter has been busy with cultivation in the past few years and has forgotten about this important matter. If I can recruit a holy son-in-law at this event, it will be a relief to me. Let's not waste any more words. Geniuses, please come to the stage according to the group number you received when you registered." Just as the king's laughter fell, a cold laughter like that of a night owl echoed. How can this interesting banquet of geniuses miss out on this old lady? "King Fu, how have you been?" Two ghostly figures appeared in the air. A black-robed old lady laughed evilly and sat down while holding the hand of a beautiful girl. Lin Chen's eyes narrowed. This old lady was also a Saint Realm cultivator. Moreover, Lin Chen could faintly feel that her pressure was no less than that of the Dark Pavilion's old ancestor, Ying Tianma, another Saint Realm cultivator? Hee, I couldn't ask for more. System, activate the divine stealing omen. Chapter 9, 51. This is great. I have 120 rune stones, and all my runes are at level 6 now. It's best if I can get a few more saints. Haha. Lin Chen's heart was carefree. He had secretly made a fortune by stealing 2 Saint Realm experts. The king smiled and said, "So it's an old friend, please have a seat." 2 eunuchs floated in the air and sat on 2 thrones. The beauty who came with the old woman bowed and said politely, "Thank you." Her voice was very light, and it was not pretentious at all. It was soft like jade, and it revealed her true feelings. "King, should we invite the imperial advisor over as well?" the old servant whispered to the monarch of Fu Sheng Nation. The king shook his head. "No need. She has no ill intentions. I can feel it. Whoosh, 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 whoosh." These geniuses were all above the first tribulation, and none of them were ranked lower than 90,000. "All of you are talented and beautiful. Everyone, let's begin." The king waved his sleeves, and the son-in-law selection officially began. The son-in-law selection this time was simple, and it did not involve other fields. It was purely based on combat power and talent. This was because the first prince and second princess were in charge of the Fu Sheng ancient nation. The king knew that the 6th princess needed a man who could defeat her in terms of combat power. At this time, Lin Chen, who was sitting on the opposite side, was part of the second batch. He took his time and looked at the progress of the dragon flash movement technique. I've finished fusing my clone's cultivation memories. Next, I can strengthen it. Look, what do you think of that red-haired kid? He's ranked 81001 on the genius ranking, and he's just like his father. He has a heroic temperament. The Saint Realm old woman's aura was extremely cold, but she was very kind to her granddaughter. She pointed at the red-haired kid on the stage. "Grandma." The gentle girl frowned. "You promised you that you're just here to relax. Why are you looking for a husband for me?" The old woman laughed. "I'm just in the mood. Since you're not interested in him, let's not talk about him." Boom! Whoosh! Whoosh! In the central battle platform, the saber chi swept over like a tornado, engulfing everything. The moment the battle started, someone had already decided the victor. This person had sword-like eyebrows, starry eyes, a straight nose, and a handsome appearance. He held a 3-winged saber in his hand and defeated his opponent in less than 20 rounds. His opponent was a genius ranked 77950 on the genius ranking. It would be difficult for him to even last 20 rounds against him. Although there was no need to risk one's life in a martial arts competition, But in a true life and death battle, the result might not be much different. What a powerful move. Who is this person? The Swift Saber Emperor, Lin Dao, ranked 68522 on the genius list. What an overbearing aura. The spectators discussed animatedly. Many young girls' eyes flashed with extraordinary splendor. Since ancient times, beauties loved heroes. This young man was handsome and cold, attracting the attention of many girls. Even some female prodigies from the royal family couldn't help but be tempted. "My good granddaughter, what do you think of him?" the old woman asked again with a smile, knocking from the side. The gentle beauty rebuked Grandma. Okay. Our good granddaughter doesn't like him. Grandma won't say anything." In the end, the first round ended in 45 minutes. There were only 10 winners, and all of them were geniuses ranked 82,000 and above on the genius ranking. The geniuses that made it to the next round were among the top geniuses even in the 4th grade sex. Some of them were even ranked at the top of 70,000 and were extremely powerful. The king waved his sleeve, and the saint light rippled like waves. The faint saint light condensed into water droplets and dripped onto the heads of the geniuses that made it through the battles. The injuries and exhaustion of the geniuses all recovered to their original state. The eyes of the geniuses that didn't participate in the battles lit up. If they could recover immediately, then they wouldn't have to worry about exhaustion, even if they fought continuously. This is the secret technique of the Fu Saint country, clear lotus holy water technique. The old woman in black squinted her eyes. Hee, thank you for your hard work. The second round began. The king smiled. With a swoosh, 20 figures stepped onto the battle platform. Lin Shun carried his sword and stepped into the air. His silver robe fluttered in the wind as he gracefully and leisurely stepped onto the second fighting platform. Lin Shin's opponent was a cold and arrogant man with a painting of mountains and rivers in his hand. He had the aura of an emperor that ruled over tens of thousands of miles. Oh, could this be the 76950 genius rankings overlord? Ao Jiuxiao? This little guy is going to suffer. The king looked at Lin Chen's battle platform. The second battle platform. Are you going to get down yourself, or am I going to throw you down? Ao Jiuxiao was extremely conceited and said coldly, "Oh, you're quite arrogant." Lin Chen raised his eyebrows and said with a handsome smile, "I feel that this is too unfair." The crowd didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The opponents in this competition were completely random. If you're not strong enough, don't come up. How can you talk about fairness here? Is there something wrong with his brain? As one of the most handsome men in the sacred boundary, I should give you a fairer chance. If you don't get down from the battle within 3 rounds, I will forfeit. Otherwise, others will say that I'm bullying you. Boom. Everyone's mind went blank. 3 rounds? That's Ao Jiuxiao. Even a genius ranked 69,000 wouldn't dare to say such a thing. Everyone looked at Jundak Shuai's smiling face. This guy really used the most casual tone to say the most arrogant words. Who the hell is bullying who? Damn it, you're courting death. Ao Jiuxiao glared. Boom. The painting in Ao Jiuxiao's hand spiraled into the sky and spread out. Thousands of battle aura avatars appeared one after another. Thousands of majestic mountains, rivers converging into the sea, tigers crouching, and dragons coiling. It was as if a huge painting had spread out and covered the entire area. Immovable thousand caddies, wind, forest, fire, mountain. Ao Jiuxiao was pointing at the mountains and rivers. Inside the painting, thousands of battle chi mountains were gathered, and they all rushed towards Lin Shun in an imposing manner. The battle aura had not arrived, but it was already suppressing the opponent. That's Ao Jiuxiao, right? What a domineering aura. He really has the right to be arrogant. I'm afraid he already has the foundation to reach the 75,000 rank. Who's the kid he's fighting? Ao Jiuxiao used his full strength right away. I'm afraid that kid won't even last 2 rounds. The geniuses in the first round were secretly shocked. The king exclaimed, "This young man's half-orange level mental cultivation method, grand hegemony, has already been cultivated to the mastery stage. If that old man were to use this technique, I'm afraid the entire island would be shattered." Lin Shun smiled faintly and casually raised his hand. "Sword, come." Clang. The green destiny sword was unsheathed, and the sword light whistled like a flash of lightning. This sword. The king and the old woman in black's eyes lit up at the same time. The sword was like a rainbow, and it slashed horizontally to meet the 1,000 mountains. Bang, bang, bang. Thousands of mountains were shattered, and battle aura exploded. Ao Jiuxiao retreated quickly, his face full of shock. What sword technique is this? Lin Shen's sword was able to shatter thousands of mountains, and the momentum of grand hegemony was disintegrated by this sword. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.